We have some breaking news. The Brown University shooter and the murderer of the MIT professor was found dead inside of a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire last night. Wait, so it was the same guy? According to officials, yes. 48-year-old Claudio Manuel Neves Valente carried out both tragedies. Why? Authorities are still piecing together a motive. Claudio is originally from Portugal, where he studied physics alongside Nuno Loureiro at the same university from 1990 to 1995. That's the MIT professor who he killed. And then for Brown, Claudio was a grad student in physics for a year in the early 2000s at Brown before leaving the program without finishing. What's he been doing since then? There's not a ton that we know yet. We do know that he received permanent resident status in the U.S. in 2017 from the Diversity Immigrant Visa Lottery program. Trump has actually just paused that program in response to this. So how did police crack this code to find this coward? It was actually a Reddit tip. A man named John was in a Brown University bathroom 2 hours prior to the shooting, where he encountered the shooter, who was dressed oddly for the weather, and they made eye contact, which gave John a bad feeling. So he followed the man and saw him near a gray Nissan with Florida plates, but he didn't get into the car and instead started walking around the block, which made John even more suspicious, and John followed him for a little bit before backing off. Okay, and then what? Well, then the tragedy happened. A few days later, John posted part of his experience on Reddit, and police found that, and they found it credible, and brought John in for an interview, and that's what opened up the case, and they tracked the coward down and found him dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound yesterday. Wow. All of the Epstein files were due to be released by law today, and the administration failed to comply. Look, hundreds of thousands of pages from about 3,900 files were released today, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche promised to continue releasing the rest on a rolling basis. But the fact is, they haven't been able to review and redact every page yet. Even the DOJ is subject to natural limiting factors. They don't have unlimited employees, and there are hundreds of thousands of pages remaining. You know how long that takes to review every single page, although Blanche said he anticipates this to be done within 2 weeks. Yeah, so either way, they're in direct violation of the law, but also much of what was released today was heavily redacted, and the law was clear. Redactions must be made only in extremely specific situations, like to protect victims, except a 119-page file, for instance, from a New York grand jury, which a judge just unsealed to comply with this new law, was entirely redacted, and that's just one example. Look, the law gives the DOJ discretion for redactions, and they have 15 days to provide a written explanation to Congress to explain their redactions. So instead of playing conspiracy theorists, that everything was redacted to cover something up, let's wait for their explanation and let this back and forth between Congress and the DOJ happen the way it was intended. Yeah, except when you hear people in the DOJ speak, they made it clear that they erred on the side of redactions, even on things with a possibility that the media or others will piece together information to identify a victim. Like, I think the law is pretty clear that DOJ should instead err on the side of transparency, especially when that's what the victims themselves are demanding. Let the process play out. It's better to over-redact early than under-redact and expose a victim or compromise a case. Meanwhile, some of what we did get today was very revealing. Pictures of Bill Clinton, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Chris Tucker, Mick Jagger, among many others. Except this wasn't supposed to be a process. The deadline was today, but also what we learned was Epstein introduced a 14-year-old to Trump and said, "This is a good one, right?" And Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. Plus, we see Epstein victim Annie Farmer's complaint to the FBI in 1996 about Epstein, which she never heard back from. It just shows the years and years of failures by our justice system. And now the Trump administration is doing more than any administration ever to bring transparency. No, a discharge petition against the president and Republicans' will became law, and now his Justice Department is actively fighting to defy it. That's an absurd accusation before hearing their responses for redactions. Plus, it was Trump who signed this into law. We know he didn't want it. We know they've been hiding something, and it seems that's continuing. Biden could have released the files. Would you just quit it with that and follow the law? We are. Really.
Man, I mean, honestly, I'm in agreement on the liberals on this one. This is crazy. But guess what, guys? We are live. Yo, this is S.E.T Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get into a media analysis over this Epstein files because now we need to fire Pam Bondi. Fire Pam Bondi. She has failed us enough. The DOJ's failed us enough. I'm done with them. But let's go ahead and get right into this Trump rally speech on the economy and affordability, and then we'll get right into the media analysis. All right, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and double tap that screen, and let's go.
More than 150,000 North Carolina residents have been lifted off of food stamps. They're very happy about that. And after your horrible hurricane, which produced more water damage than any hurricane in history, the Democrats let you down. They really did. Remember, they wouldn't do anything. Remember? They wouldn't go to your community. They wouldn't do anything. You had to wait till January 20th when I took office that we really knocked the hell out of it. Remember? As soon as I took office, I got in on January 20th, and first thing I did was made North Carolina phone calls, and we did a hell of a job. Did a hell of a job. You'd still be sitting in the mud if I didn't get elected. You would be. People were sitting in the mud.
All right, mic check, mic check. Sorry, had the wrong mic connected there.
But I helped rebuild your state, and I didn't get any help from the Democrats, not your governor, not your man that's running, by the way, for Senate against Michael Whatley, who's phenomenal. Michael Whatley is incredible. Your previous governor was a disaster. He's also a radical left person, by the way. He's radical left. You don't want him. He doesn't represent you. And look at the crime. Look at what's going on with all the crime here. The slitting throats and stuff. I never saw that with you. Now, all of a sudden, that's what we see. You got to get Michael Whatley. It's going to be so important. He was so great. Don't forget.
But all right, guys, go ahead and review the interview right here. I said I'm pretty disappointed on the Epstein files release. Of course, the dozen of redacted pages when they was only supposed to redact, sensitive information like victims' names. And then, of course, I'm on now all aboard the train of fire Pam Bondi. She has to go. She's either deep state or she's really incompetent. It doesn't matter. She has to go. But all right, though, let's get right back into it.
I took Michael and I put him as the head of the party because he did so great. We won the state all 3 times, and it was like a rock. He didn't allow cheating in the second time. I watched all these states, boom, boom, we're leading. People went to sleep, it was over. Then they dropped ballots, they cheated like hell. The only good thing is this is a far better term than it would have been had I done it the more traditional way. It really is. It's a more powerful term. It's a more powerful term. And the biggest news of all is yesterday, it was announced that inflation is far lower than anybody expected.
Yeah. That was a surprise right there. I thought inflation was probably either, I was hoping it wasn't going to go up, but I was thinking that it was. Here's the thing, though. Inflation went down about 0.3%. So now we're at 2.7 inflation. I think core inflation is still at that 3%. But overall inflation right now is at 2.7%. So I guess shout out to Trump on that when he found a way to tackle inflation on that note. Hopefully it continues the downwards trend.
Told you. Beating every one of the 61 forecasts from the so-called geniuses, the experts. We're the geniuses, not them. We now have the lowest core inflation since March of 2021, and we're just getting started. It's unbelievable. And that's despite taking in billions and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. Remember, they said,
you got to give it to Trump. I mean, shoot, I'll even show you it right here. Let me go ahead and main screen it for you guys. But yeah, inflation falls. Shout out to NBC News. And let's be real, NBC News don't want to say anything good about Trump, but inflation falls to 2.7 as slower housing and food increase offsets a surge in electricity. So, okay. So they're pretty much saying that, yeah, food prices aren't going out of control. Of course, we got USA Today. Inflation eases in November. You see here, New York Times, CPI report live updates. Inflation unexpectedly, the haters, slows to 2.7 in November. I mean, man, shout out. We got to give it to him.
The tariffs will cause inflation. Just came out with the best inflation report we've had in years. And lots of cash, too. In fact, 1776, right? $1,776 goes to our military. It was 1,775. And that was the number, that was just a lump. I said, if we had $1, we got 1776. Somebody said, that's genius. I said, well, I'm smart. I said, for $1, and I'll get these ladies who are loaded with money to pay for it from North Carolina. Their husbands can write a check in 2.
Yeah, so basically the military is getting, I guess, like a Christmas bonus of $1,776. So if you're in the military, come on down and receive your check. But no, of course, shout out to the military and our servicemen. So, hey, y'all deserve it. Shout out to you guys. Hopefully we don't bring you guys. Hopefully Trump doesn't get you guys into a war in Venezuela. I'm hoping and praying.
Seconds, take care of it. No, think of it, for $1 more. They said, I can't believe we didn't think of that. Only hours ago, I left a meeting at the White House where we cut the cost of prescription drugs by 300, 400, 500, and even 600%. And I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done before, standing up to the special interests and demanding lower prices for the American people. This is what we're doing. You know, it's called favored nations. And nations all over the world were screwing us. We would have prices that were 10 times higher than the prices they were charging in London and in Paris and all over the world. We had the highest prices for drugs because we had politicians that wouldn't. I did it at the beginning at the first, but then we had a thing called, you know what happened, COVID? And it was sort of hard to go after France and Italy, say, listen, on top of all your COVID all over the place with everyone dying, we want you to pay a lot of money for drugs. You can't do it. But we did it, and nobody's ever even thought of doing it before.
Now, the thing about Trump's most favored nation is that it is causing a bit of outrage around the world because, well, the pharmaceutical companies got to lower our prices. But here's the thing, though. They might have to raise other people's prices, which means that, well, just because Australia is paying maybe like $10 for a pill and you're paying maybe like $50, don't mean that you're going to pay $10. It means that they'll most likely raise the price on Australia at $25 and your price will go down to $25 because our price is already sky high. We have nowhere to go but down. But sadly, other countries have room to increase. Sad. But hey, that's on them, not us. And shout out to Suing Star. Appreciate it. They omitted 90% of the data points. It's literally in the chart. They released fucking wow. Okay. It didn't go down. There are just what? They omitted 90% of the data. It's literally in the chart they release. All right, you fucking idiot. Gotcha. It didn't go down. They are just at lying. Bro, why you gotta hate? Hold on. First off, it was at 3%. So you're acting like inflation was out of control. It being at 2.7 actually makes sense. And here's the thing. You're crying about a price increase that happened under Biden. Do you remember that part, you fucking idiot? Like, do you remember how 20% increase in price happened across the board according to the CPI? It was in the chart, you fucking idiot. But I guess you missed that part. But I'm sorry. Yes, it's at 2.7%. What they're missing is the jobs data, you fucking idiot. Did you forget that part? Ah, okay then. Forgot. Oh, wait. And isn't because the shutdowns that the Democrats invoked for what? Oh, Obamacare healthcare subsidies that they didn't even get. Hilarious, huh? You fucking idiot.
I've negotiated and really did it directly with 17 of the world's largest drug companies, as well as foreign nations that were taking advantage of your country for decades, many decades. For years, Americans have been paying the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by far, 10 times more sometimes, 15 times more, while other countries pay drastic.
But I do appreciate you for starting us off. Like, I can't lie. I appreciate the support. You fucking idiot.
Less for the exact same drug made in the exact same plant in the exact same country. But under my most favored nation, you know what that means? That's a legal term. Drug pricing executive order. I just signed a couple of months ago, and is now being implemented. We have declared that the United States will now pay the same price as the lowest price of any country anywhere in the world. And we should honestly, this is the biggest thing to happen in medicine, I think, since the founding of our country. You know, I don't mind. They actually have a great location. You know, we've had people that look so good behind me that some of them went to Hollywood and actually did very well. You know? See, they may have a better location, but nobody's going to Hollywood. They can only see the back of your head. Look at all the television. Look at all those cameras. It's crazy. But we did something nobody's ever done before. Nobody's tried. Nobody thought they could do it. Don't forget, the drug companies turned out to really do the right thing. They really did. and they were there at the White House today. You saw some of the biggest companies in the world were there. The rest of them are coming next week. But the big problem was foreign countries. They would have to take their drug and raise it from $10 to $20 to $30, maybe to $100, maybe 10 times more. But it really doesn't work that way because the world is a bigger place than the U.S. And so you're not going to have to raise it that much, but you have to raise it.
Yep.
And they always said for 50 years, they say, let the United States pay. And for 50 years, the United States got.
Yeah, I mean, the pharmaceutical companies were making about 75% of their profits from the United States due to the fact that we pay more for pharmaceuticals, and drug costs altogether. Now that we're getting most favored nation pricing, they're most likely going to find a median in between where they can still make their profits. Because let's be real, they're still profit driven. They're just not going to be trying to get most of the profits from us. So like I said, there's going to be a median price. But like I said last time, we have nowhere else to go but down. And they have room to increase. Because when we're paying absorbent amounts, like we could pay $100 for a pill while they're paying, I don't know, $20. Yeah, we're probably going to find a median around that $50 somewhere, and we're going to be paying lower drug prices. So I'm all for it.
Screwed because we're paying so much more. Drug that was selling for $10 in London sells for $130. That's 13 times more in New York, 13 times more. So $10 in London, $130 in New York. And now that drug will go up for the other country from $10 to only $20 or maybe $30. And it will come down from the United States of America to $20 from $130. Think of that. Think of that. That's the biggest price reduction. When you talk about cutting prices, cutting costs, and cutting prices, you talk about affordability. The Democrats, they're the ones that got us into the mess. They're the ones that caused the high prices. And then they come out and they look at those fake news people back there. They go, this election's about affordability.
Man, I was going on a rant yesterday about it's kind of funny how the Dems ran on affordability, but they run the most unaffordable cities and states. And I was just like, look, for people in Virginia and New Jersey, if you really voted for a Democrat based on affordability, God, I hope that wasn't it. I hope to God you saw through that lie and you were just like, you know what, I'm going for something else. Because if you voted for a Dem on affordability, God bless your heart. Just God bless you. That's all I got to say. I'm not going to dig into you too much, but just know that your decision-making skills aren't the best.
They go, let's talk about it. No, I'd rather not talk about it because they can't. They're the ones that caused the highest inflation in the history of our country, which led to the highest prices in the history of our country. I inherited the mess. I got the prices down, and they're going down still further. Look at gasoline. A lot of areas now in our country, $1.99 a gallon. Right.
But the national average is hit about what? Well, it's like 278 or 295. I'm trying to remember. Well, I know the average around my area in Columbus is about 279. But I know the national average went down from about 306 to about 295, right, guys? All right.
It cost these ladies these beautiful friends of mine from North Carolina, it cost them like 1/3 to get here than it would have cost under Sleepy Joe Biden. Right? If you drive, this time you can drive. First time you didn't have to take an airplane. But we had 9 blockbuster agreements. We had 9 of them with the big drug companies just today. The rest are coming over the next couple of weeks.
And here's the thing, to dig into that point, I mean, bro, Democrats run the most unaffordable states. Therefore, gas is always going to be more expensive in a Democrat state than a Republican state. I'm going to be real with you. And I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to be paying more to live in a Democrat state than a Republican state. The Dems will be like, oh, because our states are just so nice to live in. No, dumbass. They just like to tax your ass. That's it. They just love taxing you. And you guys just admit that. So, yes, you guys get crazy tax. Your cities don't get better. Lord knows affordability don't get no better. And then they blame Trump. So think about it. Why they raise your taxes and you never complain to them, they just say, oh no, it's Trump's fault. I mean, no, look at your taxes, please, before you come at us.
But the first dramatic drug discounts will be available to all Americans starting on January at a thing called TrumpRx.gov. TrumpRx.gov. But this is the biggest thing ever to happen on drug prices, pharmaceutical prices. And it will also tremendously it's going to reduce the cost of healthcare, because healthcare is probably 50% about drugs, right? Your drugs are coming down at levels that nobody ever thought was possible. This achievement alone.
Now, about 2 days ago, Republicans did pass a healthcare plan without the ACA subsidies. So we're still waiting on that. It's either they expire and premiums will triple and double, but I will look into the Republicans' plan because I've actually found this out probably maybe like an hour or two ago. I know. I cover a lot, especially when it comes to geopolitics. But yes, the Republicans were able to pass out a plan without the ACA subsidies. So we're going to see where it goes from there.
Should win us the mid.
Oh, and shout out Tove. Appreciate it. She says, Suge, gonna have you really talking country soon. Got to come up for the hog roast this summer. And hey, shout out in Toledo. I'll be all for it.
Terms, if we did nothing else, I said, you're talking about like this massive reduction in drug prices that affects everybody. Older people, younger people, middle-aged people, sick people, well people. It's not just like patients, it's everybody. It can never happen. Nobody would ever have done this. It was very hard to do. I had countries laughing at me. I said, listen, you're going to have to double and triple your drug prices. They said France, as an example, UK, European Union. They said, you must be kidding. They've had low prices for years. The drug companies would go, could you pay more? No, charge the United. They wanted the drug companies, in all fairness, to charge the United States of America. And they made up all sorts of crap. Well, research and development. I said, well, what about research and development? Why aren't they paying also for research? Well, it just never worked that way. They used to use, remember, research and development. That's why we pay more. I say 12 times more. Why? For research and development? It was all a con job. But
yeah,
I'd say to the head of France, as an example, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to double or triple your prices for drugs. No, we will not do that. Oh, yes, you will. I said, yes, you will. 100%. No, we will not do that. Of course we will not. I can't do that. I said, yes, you will. No, I won't. Yes, you will. And he said, why do you have such certainty? I said, because if you don't do it, I'm going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you sell into America.
Yeah.
And I said,
yeah, and that deads the entire conversation, like right there and then. You just dead the conversation. Here's the thing. He actually put a 100% tariff on all pharmaceuticals that's made outside of the United States. So that's what also got a lot of these pharmaceutical companies to also come over here and start dropping prices because, well, Trump started pulling out the tariff stick. And once that comes out, well, what can I say? Factories start moving and prices start dropping.
Said, because that was really the sticking point. They just would do it. They told the drug companies for years, we're not doing it. We're keeping that pill at $10. We're not going to raise it. And the drug companies said, well, it's unfair. I mean, they're paying 10 times more, sometimes 15 times more. That's okay. Let them pay more. We're not paying more than the prices were stuck for years. And no president did anything about it.
For the naysayers, I'll go ahead and give you one example. AstraZeneca. So look up AstraZeneca. It's a pharmaceutical company, and they've already broke ground in Maryland to start building a factory there to start producing what? Pharmaceuticals. Pfizer's also set up next to start breaking ground soon. So, like I said, he's like, not everything the president says is a lie. I'm not sure how you guys got that delusional about him, but hopefully we can disillusion you. We can dispel you of that today. Hopefully we can.
Sleepy Joe Biden didn't know he was alive.
Sorry, I laugh because I know it's not possible.
The last thing he cared about was this. He didn't care about anything. Just wanted to make it through but they cheated. Look, he was surrounded by radical left. Hey, did you see on Mar-a-Lago? Did you see how corrupt that was? Now it's all come out. Wow, it's all come out. Some life. It's all come out. They were totally corrupt, radical left lunatics. Not stupid people, by the way. He was, but the people that really ran the country and that really ran the auto pen, they were not stupid. But think about what we've done. Under the Trump administration, America will not be ripped off any longer. So can you imagine these countries?
Oh, guys, let's make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. And if you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel by go ahead and tapping that button up there. Appreciate the support.
And when I told you the example before, from $10 to $20, you know, that doesn't sound like much, but it's a doubling of the price. Yeah? You know, that's a doubling of the price. And if it went to 30 or 35 or 40, you know, that's still a doubling, tripling, or quadrupling of the price. But I said, at 25% tariff, it's much more money than what you're talking about. So they would say to me, all countries, you know, obviously they said no at the beginning, and they would have told a normal president no, and that would have been the end of the conversation. So they said no to me, and I said, no, you'll do it, 100%. Mm-hmm. And they said, what's wrong with this? 100%. I said, 100% that you're going to do it. The one asked me, why are you so certain? Why would you say that I would quadruple the price of drugs in France or someplace? I said, because if you don't, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff. That tariff is worth 5 times more money than you're talking about. And there was dead silence on the phone. And then when the gentleman, Emmanuel, is a wonderful guy, when he spoke, he said, you have a deal. Have a deal. He's a nice guy, too. But you can't blame him. You know, this has been 40, 50 years. You can't blame him. But it was the same conversation with everybody. No, we can't do that. No, I cannot double the price of my drugs. I said, no, maybe triple or quadruple. But it's still much lower than we were paying. You know, we were paying a number that was crazy, 13, 14 times more. As president, I'm also taking in the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of government subsidies. And I want the money to go directly to the people. I want the money to be paid directly to the people so that they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. By the way, what I told you about buying the drugs at this massive dollar discount, it's like from where it is, that's going to have a huge impact on the cost of healthcare.
That's concerning.
The current Unaffordable Care Act,
let's see here,
commonly known as Barack Hussein Obamacare, was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care.
All right, now let's go ahead and get into it. So now this is what passed. So what passed on December 17th, so about 3 days ago, this passed, if you don't know. The House passed in the HR 6703. So yes, 6703, the Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Americans Act. Yeah, I know, right? Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Americans Act. All right, so it doesn't extend the enhanced ACA Obamacare premium tax credits that are set to expire on December 31st, which is why there's been a big fight over premiums going up for many markets enrollees if nothing else passes. The bill's main piece includes association healthcare plans. Let's see here, PBM transparency and funding ACA cost sharing reduction starting in 2027. The CBO estimates that it would reduce the deficit by $35.6 billion over the next 10 years. So I guess we're saving billions of dollars by, you know, this healthcare plan, but also reduces insured count by 100,000 per year on average from 2027 to 2035, while lowering benchmark premiums on average. So pretty much get people off of the Medicare plan is going to lower prices. Woo! I guess some people seen that exit plan.
Much too high a cost. And you see now that the steep increase.
But this passes the House. The next step is it goes to the Senate, but the path there is unclear. So we'll see. So this passed the House. So we'll see what happens in the Senate.
In premiums, it's being demanded by the Democrats. It was never any good, Obamacare. It was done for the benefit of insurance companies, which totally control the Democrats. That's why you could have a strike on January 30th. You could have another shutdown because the Democrats are totally in the hands of, they're totally controlled by the insurance companies, big wealthy companies. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care, and you'll get much better health care at a much lower price. And the only losers will be the insurance companies that have gotten rich. How about these companies? Some of them have gone up 1,400%, their stock prices. One, I think, went up 1,700%. How many people have ever bought a stock that went up 1,700%? And think of it. They've taken in billions and billions of dollars. And the Democrat Party is also just, look, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do because I don't know how anybody beats us when we say that we want the money to go to the people so you can buy your own health care. How can it ever be better than that? I wanted to do that at the beginning in 2016, but the politicians told me, sir, I was a little bit inexperienced. I've never done this before. Now I'm quite experienced. I've seen things that nobody would have thought possible. But I said, why do we have this crazy Obamacare, or as we call it, the unaffordable? Isn't that a great name? The Affordable Care Act. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act. I should get credit. That's a good one. What's better, that or fake news? That or Pocahontas? That? I can't use the names that I used on the Republicans.
Now, let's be honest. The status quo that the Dems wanted us to follow was not working. Giving these enhanced ACA subsidies to the insurance companies, well, I'm going to be honest with you. It does keep it now. Their math was right. It does keep your insurance from tripling and doubling. But here's the problem as well. Your insurance was still going to go by 18 to 30%. And if you couldn't afford that 18 to 30%, well, guess what? They say subsidies being enhanced weren't going to work for you anyway. Yeah, I know. Going up 18 and 30% when people are so-called dealing with this affordability crisis, the Dems didn't want to talk about that. No, they just want to sit there and bastardize the Republicans for not passing something that were still going to raise healthcare premiums, and only just give billions to these insurance companies. Like, come on now. The status quo wasn't really working out.
To gain access to the election. But we had some good names, didn't we? But I think the Unaffordable Care Act is pretty good. The UCA, right? They keep talking about the ACA. Think of that. Instead of the ACA, we call it the UCA. The UCA, they say, what is that? The Unaffordable Care Act? It is unaffordable. But it was always no good. But now it's really gone. And with time, it gets worse. Now it's going to be hit big. Remember, I didn't do this. This is Obamacare. This is Obamacare. This isn't Trump. But you don't need it because let the money not go to the insurance companies. The problem is the Democrats will shut down the government because they are totally beholden. I don't love that word, but they're beholden. They're beholden to the insurance companies. So I don't know what they can do about it, but they'll probably close down the government.
That's true.
It's so simple. The money should go to the people. The people should then take all of this money and buy the best health care there is. And there'll be a lot of money left over. Right? But they'll not be happy. But that's okay with me because you, the hardworking citizens, and finally you're going to have great health care.
And let's be real. The way I broke down the ACA subsidies, it kind of makes sense why the Dems wanted to continue going to insurance companies because, well, insurance companies, they've got these guys in their pockets. Like, yes, they pay a hefty penny for these Dems to go out there and be like, oh, yes, take these ACA subsidies and give them to these insurance companies that are still going to raise prices in the name of affordable health care. Like, yeah, think about how dumb that sounds. So to be honest, the Republicans do have a really good argument. But also, in all honesty, their whole plan with giving it to the people and these healthcare savings account to make them go out and I guess get their own healthcare hasn't really been thoroughly explained. Like not to me at least. And if anybody you got a good explanation on it, let me know, because I'm still a bit weary about that plan, but I'm also okay with billion-dollar companies stop getting subsidies from the American people. And we're giving them subsidies on the guidelines of affordable health care while they raise premiums. So I really don't want it to go to them, but I'm also not sure on the plan of it just going straight to the American people in hopes of that being able to helping them cover premium costs. I'm not sure about that either.
At the right price, so you're going to have it. Although today I did suggest one thing, because when I was watching these big drug companies get up and talk about things, they were giving free medicine, and I mean, they couldn't have been nicer, they couldn't have been better, and they were, giving us a hard time a while ago, but it worked out good. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call these insurance companies fat cats. They are fat cats. I'm going to call the insurance companies, and I'm going to set up a meeting with them, all of them, and maybe I'll have the same luck that we had with the health companies, with the pharmaceuticals and the drug companies that we had. So rather than just saying we're not going to deal, maybe they'll give us a deal, like cut the price by 50%, and maybe then it starts to make sense. So
Hey, shout out Seth, been a member for 15 months. Appreciate the support, sis. She says, hey, Seth, how are you, bud? Happy early Christmas. And double tap the screen, subscribe to the channel, super chat for Seth's reaction to questions or arguments or jokes. Hey, appreciate that. And shout out Seth. I had to throw on the Christmas colors as soon as I seen the Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, guys. And Merry Christmas.
I'm going to meet with them. Who knows? Who knows? And I'll either meet in Florida. I'm going to Florida. I'll either meet in Florida because I work all the time. So I'll either meet in Florida or I'll meet in Washington the first week right after we all come back to going to our wonderful jobs. And I'll sit down with, it's like 12, 13 people. It's basically these big monster companies, 13, 14 if I want to be generous. Get 14 people in a room and let's see what happens. Maybe they'll surprise us, but maybe we'll ask them for a 50% cut and maybe they'll give it. You never know. You saw what happened with the drug companies. They're giving free drugs. They've been unbelievable, but they do love our country. And I probably think the insurance company guys love our country. They just felt they were dealing with stupid people, so you can't really blame them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in the history of our country. That's true. And there's never been anything like it. When I took office last January, I inherited a mess, and very simply, I am fixing it. Joe Biden gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. A lot of people say, the fake news says, it's not the worst in history. It's the worst in 48 years. Oh, okay. No, they do. They say 48 years is okay. But when I say history, they go crazy. That's when I let them win. I say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of people don't understand is that price increase from that 9% inflation, yeah, that didn't go nowhere. Yeah, when we had a 20% price increase across the board under Biden, that price increase did not go nowhere. And that's what the Dems are trying to blame Trump for the price increase that happened the whole 4 years under them. And that's why actually the Republicans are kind of outraged when Dems even speak on affordability. Even I'm a bit outraged by it because I'm like, now look, you guys know you guys tax the heaviest and run the most unaffordable states, right? So when you guys speak on affordability, it's like absolutely ridiculous because you guys don't even make your own states or own cities affordable. I mean, you make them more dangerous, but you won't make them affordable.
Apologize. I like that hat, 47. It's nice, actually. Beautiful, nice thread, gold thread. I watched that myself. I want gold thread, not mustard colored, No, they give you, a lot of times they sell you mustard color. It costs them a lot less. We don't accept those hats. When you have a mustard colored thread, don't accept it. but it caused the prices to be higher than ever before, making it really life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. Our border was open, and our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people. Many came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. You know the difference between a prison and a jail? A prison's more severe, right? You know the difference between a mental institution and an insane asylum? An insane asylum is more severe. They came from both.
Oh, yeah, and here's the old argument. Red states are the worst. Red states are the worst. No, actually, they're not. If you guys actually think that paying more taxes make your state good, no, it just means that your politicians are assholes, to be quite honest with you. Like, you guys are literally bragging about being taxed more than crying about unaffordability at the same time. You know that, right? No, not that these blue states are nicer than red states, safer than red states, none of that. Your politicians just tax you more. That's it. That's all.
They were drug dealers, gang members, and over.
Well, we appreciate it, though. Appreciate you. We appreciate your politicians for taxing the hell out of you. So what? These red states can afford things like what? No income tax. Thank you. We appreciate that.
13,000 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. Think of that. They killed more than one.
I think it's a flex.
A lot of them said, oh, I didn't mean, but you know, when you kill more than one, get them the hell out of our country. How about that incident with that horrible monster that killed the young, beautiful girl from Ukraine, animal? And to think we'll have been trials for years, and you'll get some nice liberal lawyer, and they'll say, oh, well, he had a bad day. Yeah, he had a bad day. Slit her throat. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels, the worst trade deals ever made. And our country was laughed at from all over the world, but they're not laughing anymore. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world because we finally have a president who puts America first.
Yeah.
The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices on everything at unprecedented levels. How about the new thing in Minnesota with the Somalians? They stole, now it came out, the great U.S. attorney up there, they came out, think of this, $9 billion, and they think that's just the beginning. They stole, think of it, in their country, they live on nothing, they have nothing. They come here and they steal $9 billion. Are we stupid? I mean, how do we allow that to happen? Ilhan Omar should be sent out of our country. She should not be allowed to be a congresswoman. She married her brother.
Don't say that.
Either to stay or to get him into.
Now, like I said, I looked into the whole Ilhan Omar marrying her brother, and you look, just because the White House released a birth certificate doesn't mean that Ilhan Omar married her brother. I looked up the name of her first husband and second husband, and first husband I was able to trace back to the UK. Second husband, I was able to trace his parents back. Well, he has different parents. The real thing about Ilhan Omar that she's been married 3 times and that she cheated on her second husband with her third husband, who's a white man. So it's kind of funny how she cheated on her own kind with the white man, but sits there and call Americans ain't shit. She talks shit about white people. It's like she's like Don Lemon. She's like the Somalian Don Lemon. It's actually kind of funny.
The country. And yesterday she, I guess, made up a story. She said,
I know my guys and fellow MAGA hates to hear that, but I'm just telling y'all the truth, bro. I'm telling y'all the truth. And this is coming from somebody who voted for Trump. So, hey, I'm just giving y'all the real.
Police attacked her son. They stopped the car.
Nothing.
And the police said,
I'm just saying,
we never attacked him.
Now, look, here's the thing. Somebody said, what's wrong with dating outside your own kind? Nothing. But when you sit there and talk shit about white people, but you're married to a white guy? That's hilarious. And here's the thing: when you sit there and talk about, I don't know, the problem that's going on in Gaza, and then and how and what Israel's doing, but you're literally married to a Jew, it's kind of hilarious. I'm just gonna be real with you. It's funny, actually. The hypocrisy is just too funny. It's like Don Lemon telling all white men that there's something wrong with him, but he's literally a bottom to a white man. It's like, come on, this shit's comedy. Let's be real.
We never stopped. It was a made-up story. She's a con person. She's full of con. She says, zero. She said, you ought to get her the hell out of our country. That's what you ought to do. She made up a story that the police stopped her son's car and they harassed the hell out of him. It turned out to be a fake story. There was no stoppage of his car, and there was no harassment. But think of that. In Minnesota, this beautiful place, once beautiful, I don't call it beautiful. You got a governor who's...
Yeah, that's true. Yes, there was a reporter that came out and did say that, Ilhan Omar, they said she lied about her age when her dad became a citizen, but actually, that's actually a common thing among immigrants, because I was dating this one girl and she had 2 different birth dates. That was about 2 years apart. Now, I never got clarification on which one was a real one, but apparently that's a common mistake among immigrants. So I don't even think we can even get her on that one. So, and I'm not even sure if she lied about it. That's actually something that their parents do. But yes, shout out to Tove. They also found she may have lied about her age when her dad became a citizen. Yeah. But, and Ilhan Omar, she came over here as a refugee in the 90s. If you actually look up her husband, he came over here as a UK citizen. She, straight from Somalia. Him, UK.
Stupid person. And a corrupt. He's corrupt and stupid. But he allowed this to go on. He allowed this to go on. Everybody knew what was going on. But what nobody knew is over $9 billion. And the people of Minnesota are not happy. And you know who's running for governor? Mike Lindell. Do we like Mike Lindell? That man suffered. That man suffered. What he went through because he knew the election was rigged. And he did it. He just did it as a citizen. Mike Lindell, I'll tell you what, every time I introduced him, he got the biggest hand. I hope he does great. He deserves to do great. That man suffered. These people went after him. They went after his company. They did that with me too, but at least I knew what I was getting into. He was just a guy that said, geez, this election was so crooked. It was so rigged. He fought like hell. That guy deserves to be governor of Minnesota, I'll tell you right now. He's a great guy, too. But I'm bringing the prices down, and I'm bringing them down fast. You know that? As I saw the other day, and as I showed to people the other day, I made a speech. It was very well received. We had one problem. I put up these gorgeous charts, and it says chart. And I'm, sort of talking about the chart. You're reading into a piece of glass. I got no audience. I got just people, very hostile people waiting around. And I'm reading into a piece of glass for 22 minutes. And I talk about the chart. The networks didn't put up the charts. Only Fox put up the charts. Fox put them up, in all fairness. When we get angry at Fox, we have to remember that. They put up the charts. So you could start putting them up now if you want. But we put up these beautiful charts that were very...
Hey, shout out here to Viking.
Look at that. But I very much like the chart from Butler, PA. I like that much better. That's my all-time favorite chart. That's a great chart. They're all great charts, but I never like a chart like that chart I put up in Butler. Just take a look at the chart right here. That was a good chart. I love that chart so much. I sleep with that chart. But this is okay. There'll never be a great chart for me. It's only the one. Compared to Butler, all charts stink. But look at that chart. Look at the kind of Biden price increases and Trump price increases. Look at that. They're all Biden. We're bringing the prices down. Look at that chart. NBC and CBS and ABC fake news. They're fake news. Oops, that camera just went off. Sorry about that. Every time I mention that camera, you see the red light back there, you see it go off. ABC fake news. I think ABC's the worst. Believe it or not, George Slopadopoulos, he paid me about $16 million. You have George Slopadopoulos. I heard Chris Christie lost his job. They fired Chris Christie. And they have a great young woman taking his place.
No, shout out to George Slopadopoulos is wild. But yes, that man George absolutely did lose his whole network, $15 million. Why? Because he said Trump was liable for grape. When no, in civil court, he was liable for sexual assault. Liable, not convicted, not guilty of, but liable. Because in civil court, if you don't know, the burden of proof is, well, you don't really have to do it without a shadow of a doubt. Like, you feel me? It's way different than, trying to convict somebody of grape. When you try to get somebody in, what was it? In criminal, well, not criminal, but in civil court, you just got to see that if they're liable or if they were around it or something like that, that can make it liable. You can go ahead and get charged guilty in civil court. So trust me, it's not the win that the Dems think it is, but I mean, I'll be real with you. It is a bit concerning.
Who happens to be Hispanic and happens to be phenomenal. She's going to do a great job. But they fired Chris Christie. And guess you know why? He wanted to eat all the time. No, they fired him. He was bad news. But I'd say ABC is the worst of the networks. I would then say NBC is horrible. I mean, just horrible. They had this guy on, this fake guy, the fake senator. I call him the fake senator from a place called Georgia, right? And he was talking about all the, things. He says he's a church leader. It's funny, if you go in as a church leader, they talk about church and state, right? He's allowed to talk about, he said, I'm going back to my church and I'm going to pray this morning. I'm going to talk about all these issues. If a Republican said that, they start screaming church and state. They don't scream, but NBC is really bad. And CBS, I mean, I love the new owners of CBS. Something happens to them, though. 60 Minutes has treated me worse under the new ownership than, they just keep treating me. They just keep hitting me. It's crazy. And then you have...
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. We got over about 500 y'all in here. Do me a favor and double tap that screen. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage you with it. Well, just like the first super chat. And just $2 and up. Appreciate the support.
Marjorie Trader Brown, I call her, because green turns to brown under stress. So I call her Trader Brown, which I don't like doing because 2 words is too much. 2 out of 3. We're changing to
not Trader
Marjorie
Brown.
Taylor Greene. I'm going Marjorie Trader Brown, so I have to trade. And a lot of people don't understand 2 words is too much to change. I actually like Marjorie Taylor Brown better, but everyone says Marjorie Trader Greene is good, but they're all good. But what the hell happened to her? She must have been a stone cold liberal. She's on CNN now all the time. Can you believe it? And it was only because I couldn't.
No, that was the problem, though. Look, there was really nothing wrong with Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying. She's allowed to have her criticisms. But when you sit there and you go on left-wing media, because you're going to get pushed back on Fox News. And I'm going to be real with you. That's the whole reason why I thought she kept going to, honestly, left-wing, like CNN, MSNBC, because they know that she knows that she can talk as much shit about Trump on CNN with no pushback. She tried it on Fox, and they're going to start pushing back on her and be like, well, what about this? What about that? Like, all right, well, what are you doing in your district to help things out? Like, hopefully you're just not complaining about Trump by not helping doing anything yourself. But yeah, that's the main reason why she never went on Fox, is because she didn't want to get no pushback. But we all know, you go on CNN and talk crazy about Trump, you get no pushback. They'll put their hands up and like, hey, bro, ride, okay, man. Hey, look, F Trump, go ahead. So that's the problem with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not that she was complaining, because I agreed with her when Marjorie Taylor Greene said that, look, Trump needs to stay his ass home or stay his ass in Washington and focus on domestic policy. I mean, do we not all agree on that? But like I said, run to CNN probably wasn't your best way to get that off.
Couldn't call her back. I have 218, 19 it changes. But we have 200 and some odd congressmen and women. I have 53 senators. I have 212 countries. I've got a family. It's nice to talk to my family too. You can't call a president every single day, and then when the president doesn't call you back, she goes around saying, he did.
And shout out Toe for clarifying things about civil courts. He says civil, it's on the abuser, but you have to remember who was judge and where the court was. No credible evidence. And she said, he said from 20 years ago. Yeah, she said from 20 years ago. And I mean, bro, we're talking about the same lady that said grape is sexy on CNN in front of Anderson Cooper. And like Dems want to act like they did not see that. I'm like, are we gonna sit here and pretend like we didn't see E. Jean Carroll on CNN talking about grape is sexy? We're gonna believe her. That's what we're gonna believe her. Okay, all right, then that's what y'all want to do. Go ahead.
Doesn't call me back. I said, Marjorie, I can't call you back. I got two.
No judgment.
I think, Marjorie, I just can't call you back. I'm sorry. And I wouldn't call her back. And she goes onto a rant. He won't call me back anymore. Sorry about that. You know, you can only go so far. Yeah, once a month, once every week or 2 weeks, but you can't, highly neurotic. Her, not me, but I'm neurotic too. I think I'm probably very neurotic too. I always say controlled neuroses is good. Being neurotic, no good, but if it's controlled, that's okay. It gives you some energy. But what the hell happened to Marjorie Trader Greene? It's unbelievable, but she dropped out because I wasn't going to endorse her, and the person I would have endorsed was going to kill her in the polls. So she dropped out. And then they talk about how brave she is. No, brave would be to stay. And, it's one of those things, but she dropped out. I can't believe it that people can change so much, but you can't go from being a strong conservative to a stone cold liberal unless you were lying. You can't do that. I mean, you can stop liking somebody, or you can say, I don't know, she's fake. Look, front row Joe, what are you doing in the second row?
I'll be real with you. Like, and she did do some fake ass shit on CNN. Like, here's the thing. She honed in on H-1B visas, and that's great and all. But you ever notice how Marjorie Taylor Greene is in construction? Like, that's how her family makes money. That's how she makes money currently, is mainly off construction. And I remember she came out on CNN and said, well, I'm not really liking the ICE crackdowns too much. I'm in construction. And, we use these immigrants too. And I'm just like, bro, are you serious? First off, you kind of should be arrested for saying that on live television. And second off, okay, so you're picking and choosing. So now it's all about what benefits you, but you guys don't get H-1B visas, so you're ready to cancel them out. And I want to cancel out both sides. I don't want no more H-1B visas, and I don't want no more illegals. Actually, I think we should lock down immigration for like 10, honestly, altogether. I'm even for the mindset of, all right, cool, we can give y'all mass amnesty, but we shut down immigration forever. And then I'm also of the mindset of, oh no, we deport all of you guys out of here, and then we shut down the border for like 10 to 20 years. Trust me, I'm all about locking down immigration. But apparently, though, my liberal counterparts feel a bit different about that.
What happened? Well, you're in the front.
And apparently, so does Marjorie Taylor Greene when it comes to the illegals.
Bro, that's good. It's front row Joe. I don't know who's been there, the front row Joes or you. It's pretty close, I think. Very different. Hey, very different types. Would you stand up, please, in the front row? Just stand up. Look at these women. Look how incredible they are. Right? Even front row Joes will admit they're very great, right? Look how beautiful they are. People like you built our country. You built our country. And that's why we love you. You built our country. The people in this room built our country. Under Sleepy Joe Biden, car prices, gasoline prices, hotel rates, airfare, and more went up 30 to 75%. Now they're all coming down. We're all coming down. Take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful to look? The same is true with groceries. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down by 33% compared to Sleepy Joe's high-priced era. Don't forget, when you have the highest inflation.
I'll tell you one thing, fruits are down too. I mean, I got a nice little deal on these bundle of berries. I'm telling you that right now. So, yeah, trust me, don't believe the lies. Food prices are down if you're in the red state. Maybe it's just the red states, because what I was paying $100 for last year, I'm only paying like $70 for now. But I mean, that's only because wages have been going up in Ohio, mainly in Columbus.
In history and or 48 years. Do we think 40, and look, in terms of
outpacing
the
inflation
speech, I think 48 years is the equivalent of history. Do we agree? Can we say?
Remember, guys, inflation, the price increase due to inflation don't go nowhere. The real problem with inflation is, one, lowering it to where it doesn't skyrocket prices. And then, of course, raising wages or having income outpace inflation. Having real wages, when it outpaces inflation, that's when the affordability problem goes away. So we're actually trying to get cut taxes so businesses could pay more, cut restrictions so businesses could start up projects and pay more, and then, of course, bring more manufacturing so people got more jobs that will pay more. So shout out to paying more.
Because they had a piece on me today in one of these fake newspapers, which are all dying. They're all going bankrupt, thank God. But they're the worst. And at
2.7 inflation, we're on the right track. Now if we could just make our way over to that 2%, 2.5, 2%, 0.2 to go to where we're at a comfortable rate, in my opinion.
Misrepresented by saying history. It's actually 48 years. And I said, that's not a bad misrepresentation, I don't think. The price of eggs is down 82% since March. Do you remember? There the people are. Do you remember? Fake news. Do you remember when I just got elected? It was a big thing. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. We won by like 312 to 200 and something, and like low 200. And we won everything. We won districts, the word district. We won districts by 2,750 to 525. That's a slaughter. And that's the thing when you see everything's red except for two little lines on the left and the right, meaning New York and California.
Yeah, but if these Republicans don't focus on affordability or actually start talking on the point of affordability when it comes to these midterms, they're going to lose. And here's the thing. Just like the Republican failed to do in, Virginia, just like the Republican failed to do in New Jersey. They lost on affordability because they refused to speak on it because they thought they were just doing so well. And that's the problem. Some of the Republicans have gotten a bit cocky, and they need to get that cockiness out of them. Trump got that type of Trump got that type of political stock, not them. They still got to work on it. And then I think it was the one in Virginia that wasn't even endorsed by Trump. So that didn't really help her out either. And she was a black woman. That's even the crazier part. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into these Epstein files and my extreme disappointment about them. All right, let's get into it.
Released. Now, I had a little hesitancy on that word because it's only part. The DOJ releasing a mass dump of heavily redacted documents tonight. And I want to just emphasize that point. By heavily redacted, I mean a lot of pages that look like this and this and this and this and this. And that's all I was going to do to the printer to make the point. Okay, there's a lot more of them. We have teams across CNN going through what was released right now in terms of pages that are not quite as black as these. But the DOJ is admitting in a letter to Congress that the files are not complete, separate from the redactions themselves. And that lack of completion is a big problem because the deadline by law, thanks to Congress forcing Trump's hand on the Epstein files, is today. Now, the key Republican who is behind getting that law passed is Congressman Thomas Massie.
Yep.
And he's posting on social media tonight, quote, unfortunately, today's document released by AG
Fire Pam Bondi. But yeah, no, she's right. Unfortunately, today's document released by Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche grossly fails to comply with both the script and the letter of the law that Donald Trump just signed 30 days ago. Yes, Rohana is correct. Rohana is correct, actually. Here's the problem. They weren't supposed to heavily redact it like this. So whatever Pam Bondi thought she could get away with, she needs to be, honestly, she better resign or somebody needs to fire her or she got to get impeached or something because this is completely unacceptable. The fact that she even tried this, knowing damn well what type of transparency the people wanted is absolutely insane. or like apparently she, like I said, is either she's compromised, working for the deep state, or if this could have been what Trump wanted all for long. I mean, like I said, that's also in the realm of possibility, but she needs to be fired, or she can resign respectfully.
Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche grossly fails to comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law that Donald Trump signed just 30 days ago. And Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said, quote, release all the files. It's literally the law. Well, they did not, and they have not yet.
Nope.
The White House saying tonight that it...
Well, technically, they did. Technically. Yes, those redacted pages are the Epstein files. The redacted version. So technically, they did. And they're just going to hit us with, yeah, you got it. Those are the Epstein files, just the heavily redacted ones. And I'm thinking that's where they're going to go with this argument. But to be quite honest, though, like some people should go to jail over this because they knew damn well what we meant. Not just release the papers heavily redacted, but release all the information so we can look through it and see what's really been going on. I mean, y'all been teasing pictures this whole time, Dems. And here's the thing. This was a Democratic and Republican effort. So the fact that it came out like this and Dems were teasing all these photos and then for all the papers to come out like this, I'm like, all right, well, what was going on? What's going on over there at the DOJ? What's going on with Pam Bondi for her to even think that this was okay to release?
Did not receive the Epstein documents that were released by the Department of Justice before the release. So they're saying that they weren't involved with what the DOJ chose to put out today. But the Justice Department did brief the White House on what the documents contain. So what do we actually have tonight on the pages that aren't black as the country starts to shut down and check out for the end of year holiday time? We do have some apparently never before released documents, along with thousands of files that were already public, the redactions, of course, and a whole bunch of pictures of Bill Clinton. Now, among the never before released documents is this photo of Bill Clinton. He's with Epstein. Got a print out of that one as well. And then a photo of a shirtless Clinton in a jacuzzi next to another person whose face is redacted. And a photo of Clinton swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and another woman whose face is redacted. Now, it's important to note Clinton has not been accused by law enforcement of any wrongdoing related to Epstein. And a Clinton spokesperson's posting.
Actually, this is some old bullshit what Clinton did. Like, look, they were supposed to appear in front of the oversight committee to testify about, you know, their involvement with Epstein because, you know, they're kind of written all over it. Both of the Clintons, Hillary and Bill. But the problem is, though, that they kind of skipped out on it. Yeah, they didn't show up. And I mean, they are, I guess, a bit in contempt of, I'm not even contempt of court, but there is somebody looking into them now because they've skirted the oversight hearing about twice now. And they may have an argument. They may be like, well, Bill is old and I don't know, Hillary's taking care of him. Like that may be a good argument. But the problem is that for some reason, Bill Clinton is not pulling up to testify against the evidence that's against him or his involvement with Epstein. Because I mean, you know, due to these pictures, bro, man, look, bro, him and Epstein look like they were best friends. Damn near, like closer than Trump and Epstein. Like these guys have been kicking it like throughout his entire presidency or something. I don't know. It just seemed a bit weird.
On social media tonight, the White House hasn't been hiding these files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide forever. Now, as for Trump himself, he didn't want to talk about the files today. He refused to take questions about anything today when he appeared in public to announce a drug pricing order.
I won't even take questions today because there's no way I can take questions that are anywhere comparable to what you just witnessed.
To be clear, what he's talking about and what we just witnessed was an announcement from Trump about drug prices. MJ Lee has been
now. Let's get into about 60 seconds of what they released, or a majority of what they released on the Epstein files. I mean, you know, you don't really have to brace yourself too much. Ain't too much going on in here. A couple crazy things, but nothing too crazy. So let's go ahead and look to what they released. So there you go. There's the first pick. Yeah, so Michael Jackson. Bill Clinton. Wait, what the hell are they dressed in? And yeah. So, and yeah, this was been released. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Looked like he had the time of his life in this one. Like, bro. And this all, bro, what the hell's going on? What in God's name is going on? And this all comes from the pictures that they released. All right. Up, there's Bill again. Like, there's your boy Bill. There's Bill again. Michael Jackson, Oprah. Whoa. Bill again. There's that boy Bill. Uh-oh, there's Bill. What in God's name? Whoa. Bill again. I'm just saying. Whoa. What? Wait, what? Did I see that right? Did I say IDF? Wait, what? Oh. What'd I tell y'all? Possible Mossad connection, CIA Mossad connection, possibly an intelligence asset. What did I tell you? But yeah, that's mainly, about 60-second clip of everything that they released so far. They said they're going to start slow rolling more out when they should have released everything now, but we'll see where that goes.
Going through the files such that we have them. And MJ, look, we got these photos, we got lots of redactions, lots of things missing, but there are still, many, many pages of documents that you are able to look through. What are you learning from them?
Yeah, Aaron, as we are going through these thousands and thousands of pages of documents and photos to try to figure out what's new, what's significant, are there people of interest that we should be taking note of? You're right that this is just a partial release of the so-called Epstein files from the DOJ. And what's interesting is that Todd Blanche has essentially informed Congress as of this afternoon that this is happening in this way because of the sheer volume of the documents that we are talking about. And what he essentially communicated is that we needed more time to figure out what information needed to be redacted, including on some information that the agency got recently. Now, one thing that is interesting is that he made clear in this communication to Congress that they made a decision to withhold and redact information that goes beyond what is stated in the law. And just as a reminder, what is stated in the law is that there are 5 categories of information that can be redacted. That includes identifying information about the victims. And just scrolling through these documents, you can tell, there are photos where there is a black box over a woman's face. That clearly falls under that category. But there are other examples as well, like child sex abuse, anything that shows physical abuse, anything that could hurt an ongoing investigation, something that could hurt national security. But the fact that there are going to be more documents coming out on a rolling basis, and that so many redactions, again, beyond what the law originally stated, is going to have huge political ramifications. And I also think we should talk about the ramifications that is going to have on the survivors, because one of the things that the survivors are very much looking for in a big picture way as they go through these files is a sense of a better understanding of why some of these internal decisions over the course of many years were made, including, what charges did the department decide to not bring on certain people? What were the decision-making processes that took place over the course of many years that they've never gotten the answer to? So this is going to be sort of a long-running process, and I can tell you with certainty that survivors are not going to be happy about what they are going to see as still the continued lack of transparency here.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, MJ Lee. And everyone's here with me now. So Barry Levine, obviously, you've been covering this for years, and you've pushed every night here for the files to be released. So the day comes, the deadline comes, and we get some stuff. We get some new stuff. We get a lot of stuff we already knew. Yeah. We get a lot of black pages. And when it comes to men, we get a lot of pictures of Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Aaron, apparently there's about 10% of the actual FBI files that were released today, and 5% of that, 5% of the 10, we already had. Okay, so we're receiving, for the most part, very little. And, it's already been playing politics in the sense of putting out pictures of Bill Clinton. You have to wonder if the DOJ has assigned Jay Clayton at the SDNY to investigate Clinton and other Democratic enemies of President Trump. Why are they showing all of these photos of Bill Clinton. You would think that would be part of the investigation. So that doesn't make any sense. We did learn that there's 1,200 victims, more than we initially thought, from the DOJ. The DOJ also said, and this is most important to me, and I think the survivors, DOJ communications on investigations into Epstein and his associates and details of any immunity deals. And so I'm looking for the FD 302 forms, which are the FBI witness reports that Representative Tom Massey says pertains to 20 men that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked these children to. And from the initial look that I made earlier, I don't see any of the 302 forms. However, we may see them in a later document dump.
I mean, Stacey, just to state the obvious here, it's just definitionally impossible that it's random what we got today, right? If you're putting out 10%, someone's making a decision on what that 10% is.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like Todd Blanche is the propped up announcer of it. But to Barry's point, it's so significant.
All right, now let's go ahead and hear some of the victims, because like I said, what they did right here is egregious. Like, I don't even know why they try to do this. Like, this wasn't going to piss off the people, and we're just supposed to sit here and believe that now Epstein wasn't trafficking girls? Because obviously, even with this little bit of like information, it still concludes in a way that yes, Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking women, and not just to himself like they try to say earlier. And now I'm not really sure about the whole, oh, well, of course, I ain't gonna lie. Of course, I called BS on the whole, oh, he killed himself. It's like, at this point, everything is called into question. Everything. Especially when it comes out of Cash Patel's mouth.
Annie and her sister survived Epstein's abuse. She's now a licensed psychologist. Also joining us is Lauren Hirsch, the National Director for World Without Exploitation. Annie, this is a heavy day, a momentous day, but a heavy day, a heavy week. How are you feeling?
There was a lot of anxiety coming into today for many of us survivors and that have been involved in this process. But I have to say, it has been an emotional day in a way that I was not expecting. You know, my sister, Maria Farmer, reported Epstein and his crimes in 1996. We've been saying that over and over again. And part of what was released today was an official FBI form, and I think it was an FT 71, dated September 3rd, 1996, with my sister's, some of my sister's report. It was labeled under child pornography, and it described Epstein stealing photos of myself at the age of 16, of my younger sister, who was 12 at the time. And just to see it in writing and to know that they had this document this entire time, and how many people were harmed after that date, it just, you know, we've been saying it over and over, but to see it in black and white that way has been very emotional. I'm with Maria today. I know she felt a tremendous amount of relief and redemption, but also sorrow in thinking about, you know, people like Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who are not here to see this and be a part of really forcing the government to be transparent finally about this case.
So Annie, I mean, I just so people know what this is, the document that you're talking about. It is the 1996 complaint that your sister made to the FBI about Epstein. She alleged that he stole nude and partially nude photographs of her underage sisters, constituting child pornography. And as we know, law enforcement failed to act on that complaint in 1996. She's followed up on this. She sued in response. You've sued over what you experienced. Maria, in a statement, has said, "This is amazing. Thank you for believing me. I feel redeemed. This is one of the best days of my life." Of course, it's mixed with the fact that I'm devastated about all the other little girls like Virginia who were harmed because the FBI didn't do their job. I'm crying for two reasons. I want everyone to know that I'm shedding tears of joy for myself, but also tears of sorrow for all the other victims that the FBI, looking at this document, and I can feel, I'm sure, just a fraction of the emotion you feel, because you think of, like, if only they took this seriously, how many innocent girls would not have been harmed if only they took this seriously. But it is vindication. It is something, right, Annie?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Like, we kind of knew this was bigger than what the government was saying it was. I mean, trust me, the main problem that we were so upset is because they was trying to water it down and belittle it. Like when they were saying that he was trafficking girls to himself and he killed himself in jail. I mean, after that, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's why there was a whole push for the Epstein files to be fully released, because obviously we can't trust the government to do so. And let's be real, even by law, we can't trust the government to do so. Even with the law tying their hands behind their back or putting their hands behind their back, they still find a way to just what? Redact most of the information that was most likely vital. How do you redact an entire page? What about that entire page is redactable? Like what? Was it just the victim's name repeated 86 times on one fucking page? Like, tell me, like, let me know. Because it don't make no sense to redact an entire page unless you are running a cover up. There's no need. I mean, sure, you can redact names, locations maybe, but a whole page, there's no need for that. But all right, though. We're going to go ahead and make our way over to to the right side of media, and let's figure out what's going on with the Brown shooting. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Fox News alert, we got him. It took 6 days, a manhunt across state lines, and a grisly discovery inside of a storage facility. The Brown and MIT killer finally found. Claudio Neves Valente, a 48-year-old Portuguese national, was found late last night in a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire.
He was found dead with a satchel, with 2 firearms, and evidence in the car that that matches exactly what we see at the scene here in Providence.
Sources tell Fox there were no notes or manifestos, but they found 2 9mm, a bulletproof vest, and the jacket he was wearing at Brown. This was a targeted attack, but in a different way. More on motive later. What we do have is a trail. He flew to Boston, rented a car. Here he is at Alamo, and then rented a storage locker in New Hampshire. Then went south to Providence and spent weeks casing the university. A custodian told police they'd seen the shooter as early as November. And Brown security cameras even caught him creeping around in early December, but they never released that video. Police have great footage of the shooter walking into the storage facility about an hour after the MIT professor was murdered. When police arrived, they found the rental car that they had been looking out for, a gray Nissan Sentra. They were looking for it because an anonymous tip came in earlier in the week. It was a Reddit post. The police need to look into a gray Nissan with Florida plates, possibly a rental. It was parked in front of the little shack. I know because he used his key fob to open the car, approached it, and then something prompted him to back away. When he backed away, he relocked the car. I found that odd. Investigators didn't know what to make of this. It wasn't until police found that second person they were looking for. He was the one who wrote it. This guy wasn't just a random on the internet. He actually got into a little scuffle with the gunman just hours before the shooting.
He's a former Brown University student who grew suspicious of the gunman when he locked eyes with him in the bathroom just 2 hours before the shooting inside the Barris and Holly building. He followed Neves Valente out of the building.
I can somewhat feel that. Like sometimes you could look at somebody's eyes, you could tell they on bullshit. You could tell they're just about to ready to do something violent. I don't know what it is, it's just a feeling. So yeah, I can hear that one out. He looked in his eyes and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know you're about to do something sus."
Before the shooting and played a game of cat and mouse in the neighborhood. Surveillance video shows Neves Valente running away from John. At one point, he stood just feet away from the gunman and questioned why he was circling the block. The gunman repeatedly responded, quote, "Why are you harassing me?"
It turns out he wasn't just a former Brown student. The guy was homeless and living inside of the building that was shot up. John was just walking around when he locked eyes with the suspect. We learned about it last night.
Homeless witness.
According to my law enforcement officials, is being identified as a homeless person who was living in or around that Brown University building that we're all talking about at Barris and Holly. Graduated from Brown University at 2010, had a confrontation with the shooter before the shooting itself happened.
This homeless eyewitness blew open this whole case. From there, they ran the plates, picked
Huh,
up.
that's probably why it was hard to find a witness, because homeless people you kind of automatically discredit, just because they're homeless. You don't know if they're on drugs or they're mentally unstable, just because they're homeless, which probably is a mistake on the investigators. But I mean, let's be honest, though, it's reasonable.
The suspect's
See how
car
it
at
happened.
least 14 times in the vicinity around December 1st. And the car pinged at Brown the morning of the shooting and then was spotted outside of the home of the MIT professor right before he died. And the last ping led investigators to the Salem storage facility where they recovered the car and found the gunman dead. Now, this is just in. The New York Times is reporting that the autopsy showed Valente died from a gunshot wound to the head and an apparent suicide on Tuesday. So one of the biggest murder mysteries in the country was solved thanks to a homeless guy who lived at the scene of the crime. Did Brown University know there was a homeless graduate living in the engineering building? If they did know, why didn't they send investigators to interview him? If they didn't know a homeless guy was living in the engineering building, then that's a massive security breach. I'm not sure what's worse, them knowing or not knowing. We hope homeless John gets the 50 G's because he deserves the reward.
Sure does.
Isn't it interesting that the public helped crack this case? Because for a week, investigators were yelling at the public.
Again, I think it's just a really dangerous road to go down. It's just a dangerous thing to do. And I would leave it to us to identify persons of interest and let us run them down.
Leave it to you. You arrested the wrong man. You arrested a white veteran when you should have been looking for a Portuguese national. Investigators had no leads until someone posted something about a car online.
I also want to be very clear about something else. Criminal investigations are grounded in evidence, not speculation or online commentary. The endless barrage of misinformation, disinformation, rumors, leaks, and clickbait were not helpful in this investigation.
I mean, let's be real. The clickbait don't really matter. It's you guys actually running the investigation. And apparently, I finally found the right homeless man to solve the investigation. Shout out that homeless guy. Yeah, he better get his 50,000. I know that.
Not helpful? Thank God someone posted something online, or else we'd still be looking for the killer. Police should be grateful witnesses and tips came in from the public, not attack them for trying to help.
Yeah, thank God we were able to find him. Unbeknownst to us, though, we didn't know that we were actually safe from him all along after that shooting because he killed himself in his little housing, well, not housing, but his storage unit. So yeah, that's where they found him.
When it was the police who arrested an innocent man, wasting precious time.
True.
Now let's look at motive. Why shoot up a school and a random professor? Well, we learned yesterday that Valente was a former Brown student and was very familiar with that building.
Like I predicted, it does sound like this guy must have been familiar with the layout as a former student or staff.
During his time at Brown, Nueves Valente was enrolled only in physics classes. The majority of physics classes at Brown have always been held within the Barris and Hawley classrooms and labs. So I think it's safe to assume that this man, when he was a student, spent a great deal of time in that building for classes and other activities.
Valente came here on a student visa in the year 2000 from Portugal. He spent a year at Brown, took a little leave, and then dropped out. Former classmates told the Post that Valente whined that the Ivy League schools...
Now, as I was looking up on X, for some reason, I don't know what's going on, but for some reason, they were trying to say, oh, he's Muslim, told you can't trust the Muslims. I was like, how did y'all relate this back to Muslims, bro? And then he started going on a whole campaign. Oh, you're acting like there's no Muslims in Portugal. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's no Muslims in Portugal, but how do y'all draw this back to that? Man, I don't know. Maybe it says so in Fox, because you never know. Hey, if there was a Muslim involved, Lord knows Fox gonna say it.
Food was lousy, and the classes were too easy. They remember him complaining about the quality of the school's fish. They say Valente had a dark side and bullied classmates, called one a slave because he was from Brazil. Someone remembers having to break up a fight. Another classmate remembers Valente struggling academically at Brown and remembers him being quiet. It appears that Valente's target wasn't a student, it was the university itself. Detectives recovered 44 shell casings at the scene of the crime. 15 of them were in the hallway. 29 were inside the auditorium. Investigators believe the shooter entered from the back or the top of the room and was walking down the stairs, firing as students ducked behind the teacher's desk. Police still can't tell us what he yelled.
There are some witnesses who said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me.
Allah Akbar? I'm sorry. Allah Akbar? Like, you never know. You never know. I mean, maybe.
I don't know why.
So if he finished his target, Brown, why drive 90 minutes north to shoot a random MIT professor in Massachusetts?
Whoa. Okay, this is a bit strange. Yeah, this MIT guy, he was actually on the verge of, what was it? Some type of reusable nuclear energy, or what was it? Not reusable, but it was a less dangerous way of using nuclear energy and therefore pushing us towards unlimited energy. And then there was other things as he was looking into as well. And when he died, it was just real suspicious, because every time somebody catches on to giving us unlimited energy or giving us an engine that can go forever without gas or very little gas, they always end up missing for some reason. It's just like, I don't know what happened. They just like die, get run off the road, go missing overseas, and then comes back brain dead. It's just so weird how that happens. And if you don't know, there's something called the Invention Secrecy Act that pretty much keeps certain inventions hush-hush. They'll pay you out, but you got to keep it hush-hush because you'll destroy certain main industries, like, I don't know, like lumber or electric, oil, stuff like that.
It turns out it may have been personal. Valente and the MIT nuclear scientist, Nuno Loureiro, who was also Portuguese, knew each other back in Portugal.
Mr. Valente was a physics student. Also, we know that the MIT, the victim there, was in that discipline as well.
All right. And shout out Tove. And yet, how many have been solved and thanked for the same clickbait? I mean, that's true. Yeah, the ones on what was it? The ones on YouTube? Yeah, the ones on YouTube. Traveler who was killed by her boyfriend was found because of SM. Wait, SM. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that one, Tove. Let me see.
School with professor was killed. It is believed that in Lisbon, that those two individuals attended the same.
I mean, no, let's be real though. Due to this whole clickbait scenario, this clickbait fiasco on X, there's a lot of been news that tries to get stuff that actually gets brought up because of all the clickbait on X. So, I mean, you can't be too mad at it. And let's see here. He says the one YouTube traveler who was killed by her boyfriend was found because of social media. That is true. Oh, I remember now how social media was pretty much tracking their adventures. I mean, tracking the locations they were at, the last picture they took together, and how they were able to track the girl's body back and all that good stuff. Okay, I remember that now. Okay.
University in Portugal.
Right. So these two went to the same school in Portugal and were around the same age. Our Portuguese producer has been reading through the Portuguese.
And shout out Tove, at least 3 cold cases solved by people online. Hey man, that is true. Hey, and here's the thing though, just looking through it, the police could have did their due diligence, but I guess they were just lazy. That's be the problem with social media investigators. I'm like, they're kind of looking at everything that's already out there. It's already out there. Like you guys, the FBI, CIA, y'all could do the same damn thing. Police department, y'all could do the same damn thing, but y'all don't. I mean, but shout out to social media investigators. You gotta love those guys.
Press. And was able to learn that Valente was fired from his teaching position at that university back in 2000, right before he went to Brown. So Valente's promising career never materialized, while his colleague went on to MIT, becoming a star in the world of physics, mastering cutting-edge fusion technology.
Oh, he's a hater.
A former Portuguese colleague who knew both of them says Valente also had the great need to stand out and show that he was better than the rest. And people thought he was arrogant. So the motive appears to be jealousy, revenge, grievance, but that's
Hater.
just primetime speculating. Heaven forbid we go down any dangerous roads. So what was he doing for 25 years after he dropped out of Brown?
Man, I don't know. Festering in hate?
One source says Valente returned to Portugal to become a computer scientist and then re-entered the United States on a diversity lottery visa in 2017. Not on merit, but on a diversity lottery visa. And now 3 people are dead. Why are we running our immigration system like a game of Russian roulette? Don't know. But Trump just ended the diversity lottery program. Since getting his green card, he's had addresses pop up in Miami, Vegas, and Boston. His Miami neighbors say they've never seen him. And when reporters went to the door, someone else was living there and had never heard of him. So the address could have been fake. We're also hearing he may have had offshore accounts.
This is something like out of a James Bond film where he had offshore bank accounts. He had credit cards that were not in his name. He was very cautious. You could see that the way Claudio was making his way around the Brown campus. So he had credit cards not in his name.
Now, I do want to cover this before I head out because I do got to head out soon. But don't worry, though. We'll be back around 9 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys 2 shows since I missed yesterday because I had to catch up on some sleep, man. And I say I be doing too much, okay, man. I got 2 jobs, this and then what I do, of course, the day job, and then I work out. I gotta get sleep, but now I'm mad, but I'm all energized, so I'm here for you guys. I'm here, so we're gonna go over this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, and then don't worry, I'll be back around like 9:30 tonight. So we're gonna have some fun around that time. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it because Candace, had a lot to say about Ben Shapiro. And so do I. Because, I mean, let's be real. Who likes Ben Shapiro still? Who still likes Ben Shapiro? Come on now. Man, he hasn't been a banger since he came out with the, what was it? Facts don't care about your feelings. Which is nice, which was great. But after that, he just been on a downward spiral. It was the Candace derangement syndrome that did it for him. That's what really happened.
Ben Shapiro just keeps calling my name out on stage. He's calling for me, and I'd like to show up for him today. Okay, last night he hit the stage at Turning Point USA's AmFest the other night. And I'd like, first and foremost, just to let you all know, some people noticed that he wasn't on the AmFest list for years, and all of a sudden he's back on the speaker list beginning in 2024. I want to let you know how that actually happened. So the story goes, obviously, that in 2024, Ben fired.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of context here. So, well, what was it? I think AmFest, not really AmFest, but it was a Turning Point event yesterday, and Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk were speaking at the same event. Now, of course, Ben Shapiro took the time to come out and, talk shit to not Charlie Kirk, but to Tucker Carlson. So, and right after, Tucker Carlson took his time to dismantle Ben Shapiro by saying, bro, you're not even trying to debate, you're just trying to talk shit. And that's exactly what Ben Shapiro did. And apparently people at Turning Point didn't really appreciate it. And a whole lot was coming out about Ben Shapiro, how he has to have certain people prop up his ego. We're going to get into that today because I'm standing on Candace's side when it's the whole, F Ben Shapiro. And trust me, me and Ben Shapiro agreed on a lot, but the way this man moves is a bit, I don't know, slimy, it's duplicitous. I don't like it, man. He ain't a real one.
Fired me in March. Well, he would say management fired me. But
did I say Charlie? My bad. Not Charlie, but it was Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. Those two was at Turning Point, which is, these events that Charlie Kirk often hosts. The last one he hosted, I believe, was with what was it? Dave Smith and that Hammer guy who Dave Smith completely destroyed. But that's the thing that Charlie Kirk always done was host Tucker Carlson and his events at the, I would say at the discontent of his donors. I mean, let's be real. When the emails came out showing that his donors wanted Tucker Carlson off, Charlie Kirk didn't fold to that, and he put Tucker Carlson on anyway. So I do believe Turning Point was honoring Charlie Kirk and what he believed in by having Tucker Carlson on anyway with Ben Shapiro. And it got a little feisty in there.
Firing me wasn't enough. He wanted to make sure my reputation and livelihood was also destroyed Of course, what happened thereafter is Charlie Kirk instantly came out and supported me because we were like brother and sister, always supporting each other publicly. And then I showed you guys a few episodes ago that we found out as I was going to speak in Dallas at their YWLS convention that Ben had sent an intern who was going to ask me a question while I was on stage, but we sort of rumbled this plan. And I called Ben out on stage. Ben did not like that I called him out on stage. So he began working behind the scenes to have Jewish donors start threatening Charlie to make sure that I wasn't invited to speak at year end because I was an anti-Semite. This is what Charlie told me. And instead, he wanted to be invited. So he's just going to purchase a friendship, right? So he comes at Turning Point USA, and this is what was divulged to me from Andrew Colvett at the time, willing to spend an offensive amount of money to be a part of AmFest. Like I said, that was told to me by Andrew Colvett directly because he wanted to say, look, like, obviously, you know, we are totally, Charlie is 100% on your side. This is like an offensive ad spend. I was like, take it, take his money. I could care less, obviously. And I knew that he was working with Barry Weiss to call and put an article out saying that the donors, the people on the board of TPUSA want Candace gone. All of this petty behind the scenes behavior because I called him out on stage. Okay. So quite literally, this is the definition of buying friends and influence and fame. Now, in case you're listening and thinking, is Ben Shapiro actually capable of that level of pettiness? I mean, I'm going to tell you a story about Thomas Sowell. Yes, Dr. Thomas Sowell of Stanford. The story begins.
I mean, let's be real. Ben Shapiro is extremely petty. Actually, all of the haters of Candace are extremely petty. I mean, they try to pick out every small thing about Candace and try to make it a sensational story. Like, all right, after her 4-hour interview with Erica Kirk and she released that video talking about it. Now, bro, I have not, what in the bot campaign was going on in her comments? Because all I was hearing was, oh, Candace was betrayed us. Candace going after the narrative. She believes this the Fed slop. Oh, I knew I couldn't trust her. And it's just like all of these botted accounts pretty much saying how they no longer support Candace because she accepted the narrative, when I'm not sure if they actually watched the video, but Candace did not accept the narrative that Charlie Kirk's wife was spitting to her. Like, or Erica Kirk was pretty much telling her. Like, she didn't believe any of it. She came out, she said to her audience, this is what I was told, and this is my arguments against it. I'm not sure if anybody really watched it, because I know I watched all the way through, but a lot of people kept trying to say that, oh, well, she's actually going with the narrative. She done turned now. Oh, I knew it was a lie all from the start. It's a money grab. And no, sadly, once again, the Candace haters are being overly petty and not even really looking at her show, just pretty much having all the judgment in the world with no viewership, like with no thought about it. And I'm not understanding it. It's like when the people were judging her on the whole Brigitte Macron thing, you would ask them, did you look at it? Oh, no, but the claim is wild. Well, can you at least look at it before you sit there and say the claim is wild? Or the Charlie Kirk thing. Oh, she's blaming Erica Kirk. No, not really. No. She actually puts out a lot of parties out there. She just brought up Erica Kirk out of suspicion. It's not really blaming her. But hey, though, everybody want to sit there and have their own judgment of Candace Owens without really looking at Candace Owens. It's kind of weird. And it's people on the right of all people. I expect this out of the left.
In 2023, shortly after October 7th, you know, Ben was sort of having another one of his open nervous breakdowns, and his audience just went kaput. People just stopped watching his podcast because he was screaming.
And shout out to Salen. He said, did you see Candace get trolled the building thing? Whoa. Oh, shit, almost about that time. But did you see Candace get trolled the building thing? Wait, like, was it the video I was talking about? Like, what building thing? I'm trying to, because I ain't gonna lie, Candace was talking about a lot of buildings and apparently Egyptian planes as well.
At Americans that we needed to prioritize Israel, and people just didn't feel that way.
Let me see.
It's not our country.
Further explain.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but why do Americans need to be screamed at about what's happening in the Middle East? Anyway.
No, see, like, Link, that was one of the lies. She never spit a conspiracy theorist about dinosaurs. She was making an argument. She was like, all right, well, I feel like science has been used to turn people against God. And I was like, I disagreed with her on that premise. I think sometimes science can bring people closer to God, but That was the premise at the time. She never really said that dinosaurs are a conspiracy, though. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like people take old videos out of context. I'm just sitting there like, did y'all really watch it? Did y'all watch it? Or y'all? And here's the thing: when people on the left talk about Candace, it's like, come on, bro, come on. I know you didn't watch a full Candace Owens video. Come on, now you're gonna sit here and tell me you watched a full Candace Owens video. You on the left who hates Donald Trump, yada yada. Okay, bro. Okay.
Is throughout this time, Brian Mast was wearing an IDF uniform in Congress, and he basically said that there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian life. And when I saw this, as shared by Yashar Ali on X, I responded and I said that genocidal language, no matter who shares it, is always wrong. Genocide is always wrong is what I tweeted. And this caused an emotional breakdown amongst people who support Israel.
Which was the wild part, though. Like, what actually got Candace Owens so much heat was pretty much saying that, committing genocide is wrong. Even if it's, whatever country, don't matter. Committing a genocide is wrong. All the pro-Israelis guys completely lost their shit. Like Dave Rubin completely lost his shit. And it was kind of just like, hold on. Is this so you're telling me we're not allowed to talk about Israel? And if you do, you just can get completely pushed out the conservative party? Yeah, Candace Owens kind of exposed that at first. Like, I'll be real with you. Nick Fuentes was like the hidden story of it happening, but Candace Owens was like, I'll be real with you, the mainstream story of, well, if you talk crazy or talk crazy about Israel, you bring up Israel, I mean, in a very disheartening way or not in a good light, then yeah, you can get pushed out the conservative movement real quick. You can get pushed out the Republican Party real quick.
I didn't think that was a controversial statement. I thought that was sort of what we all believed in. Genocide is always wrong. Anyways, for Ben, he then had some private event, probably at another Jewish donor's house, and somebody caught him standing on a table insulting me over my genocide is always wrong tweet. Take a listen to what Ben had to say.
And then the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt, I think I can't close that. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
Disreputable, disgraceful. She works at my company. You can imagine that the internet went crazy because they wanted me to respond to him.
Now, did anybody notice the whole Arab-Israeli conflict? I'm like, no, it's the Palestine or Gaza-Israeli conflict. Now, for you to say Arab kind of insinuates that Israel is kind of going to war with all Arabs. I mean, that's a weird way to kind of, pitch that war.
I can't believe this. They work together, they're colleagues. Somehow this gets leaked. And I want to mention, because it's very relevant, that was on the morning of November 14th. I was 6 days away from giving birth. I was very heavily pregnant. Anyways, I wake up to this, and shockingly, nobody from the Daily Wire steps in to manage the situation. And as you can imagine, virtually every journalist, every person with a media platform was contacting me to comment, to respond to me being insulted by someone. I'm about to give birth. I'm being insulted, and they're not getting anything from the Daily Wire. So I am obviously frustrated. You should also tell you, I had no PR at this time. My PR was the internal PR at the Daily Wire. And it was very clear that their focus was on protecting Ben, even though he was the one who insulted me publicly, because I said that genocide is always wrong. That is the genesis of that statement. That's all I said. Obviously, I wanted to respond angrily to the press. I wanted to hit back at Ben. And I guess you could sort of say my perspective was an eye for an eye. But my husband, who was a better person than me, instructed me that morning to instead take a deep breath, relax, okay? Don't think about what you're feeling in the moment. Think about how you're going to feel in the future. And he instructed me to instead read the Bible, the Sermon on the Mount. And I read through it, and he reminds me that everybody who wants to comment, they don't care about me either, right? They're selling headlines. They want the clicks. They want the drama. And I'm going to feed into that for what reason? For what reason, actually, am I going to give a comment and say something about Ben Shapiro? Blessed are the peacemakers, right? Don't buy into this clique culture. And so I tweeted that actually my husband was right. I called for peace. I tweeted, blessed are the peacemakers. And I made the mistake, I guess it was a mistake, that after I tweeted, blessed are the peacemakers, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be commended when I get back to work. Like, wow, you really took the high road. I ended this biblical passage with Christ is king. Christ is the king. He's the only thing that matters. Obviously, Christ is king. Now, it was just Tucker Carlson's luck that I had been slated to come on his news show the very next day. He had booked me 6 weeks earlier. I got approval from Daily Wire. He booked me for November 15th. So suddenly Ben gets on this table. He insults me. It's trending all over Twitter. And Tucker Carlson is going to be the first person to capture my reaction to it. And when it came time, I kept up with the peacemaker. I made the decision to just take the high road. I said, I don't want that to negatively impact how people perceive the Daily Wire. There are great people there. I mean, I wouldn't be proud on that, but I'm not taking the bait here. I didn't say anything snipey back at Ben because I didn't want to feed the mob. That was my honest perspective. My husband was just right. And also, we're talking about a work colleague, right? Somehow, me taking the high road made him angrier. So here's what he did. Elsewhere in my interview with Tucker, he asks me who I look up to, who I like. And I told Tucker the truth that it was my dream to meet Thomas Sowell. That when I first got into politics, I read a ton of Thomas Sowell books, and I had tried many times to meet him. And obviously he's aging, but I really looked up to Dr. Thomas Sowell. And here's that clip with me and Tucker.
Who do you listen to when you're trying to figure out? I mean, some of the stuff comes at you so fast, and you're talking almost every day or writing almost every day. Who do you read or listen to try to make sense or bounce ideas off of?
I have been obsessed with Thomas Sowell. And everybody knows that. I am pretty.
Saline, I looked up the Candace Owens building thing, and that's not her lawyer. That's the lawyer that Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron sent their lawsuit to. Actually, I got the proof right here on X. So shout out to X because it says it right here. See? And if you actually look through it, the amended complaint talks about Candace Owens, a right-wing podcaster, told she would stake her life on a claim. Candace has used this false statement to promote her independent platform, right? So obviously this isn't Candace's lawyer because, this is the complaint being sent about Candace. And boom, I, Brian, hereby confirm the amended complaint was served via Nexus, serving on the following. So, yeah. This one right here, one Rodney King, that's the one they was talking about, which she was talking about. Yeah. That's the counsel for defendants. So, that was what Brigitte Macron lawyer received, I believe. Yep. So, the whole building thing, once again, I'm not, like I said, it's like, I'm not really sure what it is about Candace, but everybody's on the attack when it comes to Candace.
Pretty much a Thomas Sowell groupie. Everything he writes, I read. And it is because he was a part of my awakening story into politics and made me focus on the economics, which is to say, block out the noise and pay attention to the economics, go backwards in history to understand where we are. When has this worked? Oh, it's never worked. So they're telling me that it's going to work into the future. And there's no evidence to support that. So when Ben saw that, he decided, Thomas Sowell, hey, that's your dream. You love Thomas Sowell. He thought that was an opportunity to get even with me for taking the high road after he insulted me on stage because he's deeply jealous of Tucker Carlson for reasons that I cannot quite understand. Ben had his team reach out and schedule an interview with Thomas Sowell, which they paid for an offensive amount of money, I presume, to effectively purchase a black man who has no idea what's going on. He's very old, he's in his 90s, to hurt my feelings, okay? Interview with Tucker is on the 15th. I think it premieres on the 16th. And Ben gets Thomas Sowell, who he doesn't care about. I'm working at the Daily Wire at this moment, and I'm about to give birth in 3 days. But this was supposed to be like an FU Candace for taking the high road and saying that genocide is always wrong. That is what I mean when I say he he is an incredibly petty man. Okay. Now we know how this ends.
Really?
I then am fired not for what I said, but for what they assumed that I meant, and for trolls that I didn't respond to. And I want to be clear, you can fire whoever you want. You really can if you're a business owner. It's just that this was atypical in the fashion that it was done, right? It wasn't done in the way where you just say, okay, get out of here, it's not working. Instead, what they decided to do was humiliate me in front of all of the other employees by, rather than having a conversation, sort of dramatically having me exit after doing my show, not knowing that I was going to be fired. And then they had put together a stage in my studio and put up clips put together basically a whole package, like almost like a high school play, and conducted what I honestly, when I look back, because it recently leaked what happened at this quote unquote town hall, this is a slave hanging. This is a slave hanging, right? Gather around, everybody else is a slave. And let me tell you how this one messed up. Gather around and watch us whip this person. This is literally how I feel when I watch this, okay? And you'll know what not to do next. And here is a video of the then CEO, Jeremy Boring, which somehow Steven Crowder got a hold of this week or last week or whatever. This is just a portion of it. You should watch the entire thing because it really is something. And ask yourself in your memory, do you ever recall anybody ever being fired where 300 employees, Ben joined electronically, he was up on the screen too, and just enjoyed watching me be humiliated, where 300 employees are invited down and shown a production of what this person did wrong? Okay, well, let's watch a little bit of this video.
Candace made no statement at all in the days after Hamas terrorists raped, murdered, and tortured over 1,000 Israeli civilians, mostly Jews, some Americans. And then they took hundreds more hostages.
Yeah, that was a weird thing about it. It's like Candace Owens could not have an opinion. That was a weird thing. If she had an opinion on it, like I said, her bosses came down, Ben Shapiro came down on her. And what was it? I think her channel actually got suspended for a little bit. Well, not suspended, but demonetized. And, well, no, she got a strike. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. When you get a strike on Daily Wire, you actually got to pay them for that strike. Like, so, yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy how they came down her, not only about, you know, what was going on in Gaza or Israel, but they also came down on her about receiving a strike for, well, talking about that as well. And the thing is, though, she wasn't really talking about it too heavily. I think she kind of related it around to, like, what was it? Man, because she got suspended for one, what you talking about with Israel and Gaza, allegedly. And then she got also suspended for talking about, well, or he got a strike for talking about trans people a little bit too recklessly.
But then on October 28th of 2023, while anti-Israel protests were raging in London, where Candace, I believe, was.
But all right, though, I went ahead and did some research because I guess this is the next new thing about Candace. All right, here. So let's look up this whole, what was it? Somebody tried to expose Candace for talking about Egyptian planes leaving from out of what? Her lawyer's address. All right, so you know that, what was it? The one Rodney Square. And this is what my man Saline was talking about. This is what it was. Did you see Candace getting trolled for the building thing? Yeah, and wrongfully so, because if you actually look up the building, it was 1 Rodney Square, 920 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, right? 1981, or not 1981, but 19801 FBI. So yes, 1 Rodney Square at 920 North King Street in Wilmington, Delaware is a prominent office building housing various entities. Notable, the prominent Delaware lawyer firm Richards, Layton, and Finger, which serves as a legal counsel for figures like, yeah, you're right, Candace Owens. And yes, it is also contains offices for federal agents, including the FBI, serving as a key location for law enforcement in Delaware. So yeah, when they said the Egyptian planes were leaving out of Candace Owens's lawyer's office, yeah, you know, it's also strange. It also contains offices for federal agents, including the FBI. So yeah, that's why, you know, trolling Candace about the buildings probably wasn't the best thing and kind of proved their point even more.
At the time, she reposted a video of the protests on X, commenting, quote, "Interesting thing happening here. People are not accepting the media narrative about what's happening in the Middle East, despite the insistent rhetoric from government officials.
I mean, because there's thing called TikTok and X that are showing videos about the bombings that are happening in Gaza, how they're killing innocent women and children. I mean, bro, I was watching innocent women get shot on camera by the IDF. You can't tell me anything else after that. And as I scrub the internet trying to search for just one example of an Hamas guy using an Israeli as a human shield, or even using their own as a human shield, I just found more images of, well, innocent Palestinians getting put under rubble, getting blown to bits. Like, that's it. So I'm sorry that we couldn't believe the government officials. I'm sorry we couldn't believe what they were saying and not showing us. But what, we're wrong to believe the videos that we're seeing online? That's where they lost a lot of people with this whole, oh, Israel's the most just army in the world. What you mean? Everything's all right. We're killing them in a proportionate number. And when they're actually killing more civilians than Hamas, it was actually released by Israeli sources that they've, like, what was it? Back in May of 2025, they've killed more civilians than Hamas. Yeah.
On November 3rd, she posted, quote, "No,
well, we're just supposed to ignore all that and just root for Israel, though.
No government anywhere has a right to commit a genocide ever. There is no justification for a genocide. I can't believe this even needs to be said or is even considered the least bit controversial to state." There was only one country on earth being accused of genocide at the time. Anti-Semites on X took to it immediately. They cheered at what they rightly or wrongly interpreted as Candace smearing Israel. And Candace didn't rebuff their interpretation. But when Dave Rubin came to the exact same conclusion as the anti-Semites, only instead of cheering for Candace, found it vile and rebuked her, Candace quickly attacked, saying, quote, "What's amazing about this is that I didn't name any country in this tweet. I simply stated that genocide is wrong always. This is not a controversial stance. Interesting how you interpreted it." And then followed up with, quote, "In short, if the blanket statement that genocide is wrong upsets you in any way, then you need to check yourself. I said exactly what I meant, and I won't be backing down or apologizing or further clarifying this statement." Within 24 hours, Candace liked a post calling Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
Because he is.
Now let's be clear. You're free to disagree with Israel's conduct, and you're free to oppose the Netanyahu government. But the idea that Israel is committing genocide or that Netanyahu is a war criminal is just factually baseless.
Bro, so how can you sit there and say you're free to criticize them, but when you're free to criticize any country and any government, but she criticized a country and a government, you guys are losing y'all shit. Do you understand how crazy you guys sound? Like, you literally went against everything you just said. Oh my goodness. And then here's the thing, y'all never proved that it was baseless. None of it. If anything was baseless, was the 40 beheaded babies. If anything was baseless, was the lies that was coming out of Israel. That's the only thing that was baseless.
Unfortunately, Candace routinely makes insinuations about Jews.
And they wonder why they're losing the argument. It's like, you guys are being delusional. And shout out to my man Chad. Cover John Polaroid at some point. He is an Israeli spy who did 30 years in jail for selling our secrets to Russia. Dang, he said treat US with nukes if we cut them, threaten US with nukes if we cut them off. I mean, bro, we did that in Iran. Yes, Israel threatened to bomb Tehran. Oh yeah, we're having one of those moments. Israel threatened to bomb Tehran if we didn't go ahead and bomb Mount Fordo for them. They've done it before. They did it with Nixon. Yes, they threatened. Who are they? They were threatening to use nukes if Nixon didn't get involved. They threatened to use nukes if Trump didn't get involved. So anytime Israel's losing, they threaten to use nukes. This is why we don't want random country just having nukes and not having them being reported, because they can do bullshit like Israel can by holding us, well, with, I'm gonna be real with you, nuclear blackmail.
That both lovers of anti-Semitism and haters of anti-Semitism both agree is anti-Semitic. And in almost every one of these instances, Candace says nothing to the anti-Semites who cheer her and only pushes back against those who disapprove of her comments. On February 28th of this year, Candace, just asking questions, posted, quote, "Time."
Oh, and shout out IB Wyland for sending in 100 for 2 jewels, and shout out my man Chad. Hey, he still sent multiple 100, sent about 7 of them. Appreciate it.
To look into the history and profiteering of pornography. Her replies were immediately flooded with anti-Semites cheering her for the question and providing the answer that they interpreted her to mean. the Jews. Once again, Candace did nothing to disabuse the anti-Semites of their assumption. But when Anthony Koch came to the exact same conclusion, Candace pushed back saying, quote, "This is utterly insane. I tweeted that porn is harming men in our society, and this person has interpreted that as an attack on Jews. This is an example of clinical insanity. There is no other explanation."
What? Nah, y'all about to hit it with the Michael Jackson. So when Michael Jackson start releasing the name of music executives that he don't like, that he says are distrustful, and they just happen to all be Jews, oh, he's insane now. Wacko Jacko. Oh my God. How could he ever say that about Jews? He's crazy. Why they gotta do that every single time? And they only do it for this group. I'm gonna be real with you, and I'm not a Jew hater. Trust me, I love Jewish people. But the problem with that is pretty much saying that you can't criticize them without being called crazy. You can't criticize their heavy influence in the music industry. You can't criticize their heavy influences in other industries, especially Hollywood, or you are crazy. Like, what? What about the crazy influence in our government? Set, you're acting crazy now. I'm just asking reasonable questions that are right in my fucking face. Like, what? You're not going to sit here and pretend like AIPAC isn't paying half of our Congress. We're not going to sit here and pretend like most of our Congress and senators are out there rooting for Israel, signing for these guys to drop more bombs on Palestinians. You can't sit there and say that's not happening. I'm seeing it. I see the paperwork. They're literally signing it over for them. Don't tell me I'm crazy. But all right.
I stand by all of those tweets. Pornography is harming men. We should look into who profits off of pornography. Genocide is always wrong.
Oh, yeah. Look into all the pornography businesses. I mean, look at what was it? Fan Geek or whatever they call that wild stuff. Oh, look, I ain't into the porn industry like that. I don't want to be. But yes, look, who owned all the top porn industries? PBD had one. I think the guy who owned Pornhub. Who was he? I mean, what do I need to start playing the Jewish music all of a sudden? Like, do I need to start going that far? And like I said, this is not me bashing Jews. The problem is that when you sit there, you start calling people crazy because they start pointing out a group of people who just so happen to be Jewish. I mean, you're gonna create that anti-Semitism. Instead, the Jewish community should be like, oh yeah, all right, you're right. We do got some crazy executives. We're gonna take care of that. Who's giving black artists and white artists bullshit contract deals that just feeds off them. It's like, yeah, us as a community should stop that. We should be able to hone down on that, not call people crazy for pointing it out.
No matter.
I mean, bro, can you imagine if us black people, every time you called out gang violence and shootings and any type of crime that heavily involved black people, we just called you crazy? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting that type of protection? Black people, like, really think about it. Anytime they bring up anything bad about us, you're crazy, you're insane, you need to go to the hospital, and people literally back us up on it. Bro, who could judge us? You're like, try us, you're gonna go right to the insane asylum. Like, man, I wish everybody had that protection. But shout out Tove, need to play what guests and gamers said on it. Gotcha.
Which country calls for it, whatever. What was controversial about anything that I say? Now, I'm again wanting you to, these are my crimes. Just imagine 300 people being brought and said, like, she said this, and this is what we know. And then he goes into a diatribe about the real meaning of Christ is King, and he shows videos of Nick Fuentes, which had nothing to do with me. I had never even spoken. I think only one time I'd spoken ever to Nick Fuentes, and it was pertaining to Kanye. Yeah, that was it. But I'm showing you this because it's important for you to understand that this has never stopped. I want you to imagine if you view yourself to be a slave owner, and that slave not only survives like this public whipping, but that escapes and becomes successful. That's pretty much my relationship with Ben Shapiro since he's fired me, because they have not stopped. They have not stopped. I am talking about people working behind the scenes to call advertisers, attempting to bankrupt me in courts, sending undercover interns to stalk me. He has issued thus far 3 court proceedings, okay, for every solitary petty infraction against things that I say. He's worked with Barry Weiss behind the scenes to have articles written about me. It is nonstop. I refer to this, just to be clear, as legal abuse. It's legal abuse. And And I have put up with a lot of it. I have put up with the pettiness of even suing me because I interviewed a USS Liberty survivor who mentioned your name as you pretend that you care about free speech and debate. I've put up with a lot of it, but today I draw the line. I draw the line with this miserable imp when it comes to Charlie Kirk. Okay? Don't try me on this, but you keep trying me on this. You are an imposter, Ben. You're an imposter. You pay to pretend that you're friends, that you have a right to be on that stage because you get donors to pressure people, because you know Jewish people who can threaten to take money, or you say, I'm going to do an advertising spend. Here's $1 million. I'm sorry, you're dead. The entire
Oh wow, accusing Ben Shapiro of having to pay money to just be at TPUSA event because, well, is anybody really watching Ben Shapiro like that anymore? No, not really. And TPUSA want to bring people who's getting those numbers, like Tucker Carlson. I mean, shoot, admittedly, what is it, Brandon Tatum, and of course people like Candace Owens. But the Jewish donors want to hop down on that for some reason. And if you're Jewish watching this, look, bro, I'm not going against y'all or anything, any way, shape, or form. I'm just calling out hypocrisy, okay? So work with me.
World knows that you are an imposter. I mean, you're so much of a fraud that essentially what you do is you have people send around clips to grown men to cheer you on, to pretend like the audiences love you. You staff audiences with people that work for YAF who are told to explode into cheers when you hit the stage because you don't have the confidence anymore to go out into the world because people see you for what you are. And so exactly what he did yesterday. We can now listen to what this imposter said as he hit the stage. Charlie Kirk's organization, the one that he built for debate, if you have a disagreement, and he instructs people here in this speech, go after me and Tucker Carlson, right? That's what he's going to do. He wants us deplatformed. So he's going to attack me, he's going to attack Tucker Carlson, and he's going to attack Megyn Kelly because she's at the beginning of what these people have put me and Tucker and Charlie Kirk
got to
through.
do with it.
Take a listen to a portion of what Ben had to say.
So, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast
because they were lying. Maybe they remember things wrong. I'm not gonna go with straight duplicitous intent, but maybe they were misinformed and they were caught being incorrect about certain things that happened around Charlie Kirk's death. That's suspicious. I mean, these are supposed to be his best friends, but they're not being, I guess, thorough with the investigation into Charlie Kirk. Why is Candace got to do it? Why not Erica? And I don't know, I was making this argument, I believe, like last night. Well, my bad, about 2 days ago, when I'm like, all right, well, why is Candace riding so hard for Charlie Kirk? Why isn't Erica Kirk going twice as hard? Because let's be real, don't tell me that we're all seeing these shooting videos, we're all hearing this story, we're all going like, oh yeah, this makes sense. No, nobody's doing that. So it's kind of weird for Erica Kirk just to go along with it, and then when they meet up with Candace, they prove that they don't got anything for real. They don't got no extra evidence, they don't got nothing that the public hasn't already seen. But then they're over there sitting behind their desk talking about how Candace is a liar. It's like, bro, what the F are you talking about? She's showing more than you guys are. She's going as hard for Charlie Kirk as you guys were. And that was supposed to be y'all main man. But it is what it is.
Versions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer and yes, at Erica Kirk.
Oh, and shout out to my man JB too. He sent in what is it? Oh, he sent in 100 for 2 joules. Appreciate the support, my friend. Just called it. Shout out to my man Josh. Appreciate you, my man.
And to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA.
Somebody said Candace's only making 2,000. Boy, she making more than only 2,000. You know how much money you get for 2 million views? Plus the super chats that she get. The super chats are probably 2,000. Candace probably making at least like 10,000, maybe 10 to 14,000 per episode as of lately. And And what you mean, man? You gotta speak, man. Look, man, if you want to talk about Big Candace, man, you gotta get your numbers right because she's right now making that money, and that's what people is mad about. But I'm just like, all right, well, why don't you speak on it? Why don't you speak on all the inconsistencies in Charlie Kirk's murder? And then you'll get the same views as Candace. You'll get the same support as Candace. But sadly, Turning Point or the Charlie Kirk show is losing viewership to people like Candace because they're not being real about what's going on or not going as hard as on it. They're just telling everybody to believe the Fed slop and just have a good day. And let's talk about politics. And people are not trying to hear that. Be real with you. That's why Candace is getting 100K plus viewers a show. Like, that's impressive. 100K viewers, live viewers a show. That's really hard to pull off.
Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend.
Somebody said 200. Oh, you said 200,000. All right, then you definitely got to water that one down. Then hold on. Now I thought you said 2,000. He said 200,000. My bad. Well, then you definitely got to water that down because she is probably making at least 14 to maybe 20K an episode at this point.
Characterizing Candace.
Well, and then if you want to include her little book thing, she got a little Candace Club. I think she got a locals membership and all that good stuff. Who knows? But I could see Candace pulling anywhere between like 100K a month.
As a young,
anywhere from 80 to 100K. Big Candace, big balling
mother, and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. When Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know, that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Wow.
Well, Ben, when it comes to you and having worked with you, I just know the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising to inflate your numbers to make people think that you're popular.
Damn.
So, yeah, I don't have to say we don't know when it comes to you. You are such a joke of a little man. Your jealousy against Tucker, your ability to believe that you can keep manipulating the markets. Those kids booed you on that stage.
And let's be real, guys. Candace, she been popping before this whole Charlie Kirk fiasco. We go to Candace Owens' most popular video. Really? One of her most popular videos was the U.S. Liberty Survivor speaking out. And then what was this? Former CIA officer exposes the shadow government. And then, of course, I spoke with Kamala's uncle. Remember the Kamala series? You can't say she wasn't cooking the Kamala series. That was going crazy. So Candace has been, doing her thing for a minute now. So to sit here and just say, oh, it's all because of Charlie Kirk wouldn't really be honest. Now let's go to her lives. I'm pretty sure she did pretty well in the Charlie Kirk lives. I'm almost sure. Let's go to the popularity. Here it is. Oh, yep. They're lying about Charlie Kirk to my friend Charlie Kirk. And then third one, becoming Brigitte Macron. And then, of course, she's been kind of blowing up. But let's be real. Becoming Brigitte Macron, as you see, is kind of spread out. Not everything has involved Charlie Kirk. But let's be real. These are her most recent releases. But Candace has been doing millions of views before Charlie Kirk. Before. As we've seen, she stays in the 2 millions before Charlie Kirk. So if we want to sit here and say that she got famous off Charlie Kirk's death, that is incorrect.
The amount of messages I got from Turning Point USA people saying, what is happening? Why is he on this stage standing against everything that Charlie believed in? That's what you're doing. You're standing against everything that Charlie believed in because you weren't his friend. He didn't like you for that very reason. I look at you and I just think you are such a little worm. I could see you right now, probably. What can we get out to her? We're going to sue her into bankruptcy again, right? Sue her for every infraction, every word that I don't like, and every time my feelings are hurt. Because what you really believe in is Baal Barith. That's what your people believe in. You believe that you are contract lords.
Oh, hold on.
And that people are not allowed to violate contracts or you will ruin them for years. You fire someone and you effectively stalk and harass them for years after. I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf.
I'm sorry, I got to go back on that because, hey, yo, Not Candace dropping the F-bomb of all people.
This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world. I know you're going to get applauded by Konstantin Kisin and Andrew Christ is King Clavin and all of the people, the men who have to keep applauding what you do like you're a 4-year-old to make you feel good. But the rest of the world can't stand you. You're obnoxious. You have absolutely no values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew. And I've learned what's in that Talmud. And
Hold on, he is? Oh, bro, please don't say that, Ben Shapiro. Trust me, that is not a good thing. I mean, look, there are Jewish people that will sit there and they'll explain the Talmud as an argument between rabbis and all that good stuff, which it is. It is. But to sit there and say you're a Talmudic Jew, I mean, I don't think that's the best thing to say. Because if you actually look what's in the Talmud, it doesn't speak too lightly of people who are, well, non-Jews.
Encourage other people at home to learn what is in that Talmud so that you know what Ben thinks of you, because he doesn't just hate me, he hates you too, white men. He hates all black people, okay? If he's following the rules of the Talmud, I mean, when I say hates, they think that we're animals, that they have a right to own us.
And they also talk about, you know how they talk about, Muhammad and the 9-year-old girl? You won't believe what they talking about in the Talmud, man. They talking about ages at 3 years old. At 3 years old, you can do something to somebody, do a sexual action. And these are what old rabbis were talking about back in the day. So let's not forget what the Talmud says on what you could do to a 3-year-old girl or a 3-year-old goy. And before let's not talk about that. And let's be real, if we were not allowed to talk about that, you don't want to talk about that, you have no business bringing up, Muhammad and Aisha or his second wife or something like that. All right. Let's just say fair is fair. Okay.
They have a right to make us worship them, that they have a right to lie to us, that they have a right to sue us and take everything that we have, that they have a right to deceive us, that they have a right to treat Charlie the way that—
Now, this is inserting, not all Jews follow the Talmud. And it's supposed to be seen as an argument between the sane rabbis and the insane rabbis, not as something that you're supposed to use as teachings. But even Jews will tell you, some people go by these insane rabbis' teachings on what you can do to goyim and how you can treat them as damn near subhuman, and how you're allowed to lie, cheat, and cheat them, and you'll be all good in God's eyes, according to these rabbis.
that he treated Charlie while he was alive, only to then try to defraud the population into thinking that he is somehow a part of his legacy, that he somehow cared about Charlie Kirk and cares to protect the people that are working at Turning Point USA. Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye.
Actually,
question is, how much more money is Ben Shapiro going to spend to make people think that he's popular?
I'm about to join
How many more articles is his father going to write under a pen name, Hank Berrien of the Daily Wire, under the pen name Hank Berrien, as he wrote while Ben was at Breitbart, before he turned his back and betrayed them too, because that is his nature. He's one of these belly creatures, sliver on.
But all right, now, you know what? F it. Let's go to one of my favorite rabbis. All right, man. Shout out this guy. This guy, man, he tells you the truth. He really spitting out here, man. Shout out to my rabbi.
Christians evangelists here in America, which almost all of them are Republicans, they're probably all going to vote for Trump, and they are very pro-Israel. They are the ones that, thanks to them, United States always been with Israel in the last few decades. If you take out Christianity out of the picture, what United States had to do with Israel? The only things they are helping us is because of religion reason. But what a lot of Jews do not know is that they're not doing it for us. They are doing it only for themselves. Make no mistake.
Yeah, because they believe that if we can get these guys to build the third temple, sacrifice the red heifer, which they already did. And bro, check this fucking shit out. The red heifer, right? So this is wild. They genetically modify a cow to make sure it basically grows red, and that's what they call the red heifer. This cow, they bring all the way out to Israel, and they burn the cow, and the ashes they use for healing. Yes, and they're supposed to spread this ash among the temple, and now the not Antichrist, but their Messiah is now supposed to return, and with the return of the third temple. I mean, well, now with the building of the third temple. So yes, and this is what they did. They did it already. They've already sacrificed the red heifer. They've already used the ashes for healing, and spread it along where they're supposed to spread it. And now I guess we're just waiting on the Messiah. And this is what a lot of Christians want. They think that this ritual, what the Israel is doing, is going to hasten the return of Jesus. But really, they're hastening the return of the Jewish Messiah, not the Christian Messiah. And who knows who their Messiah is? And I don't want to find out, but it looks like we might if if their little animal sacrificial ritual went the right way, right? We'll figure it out soon enough.
Believe that once we will go back to the Holy Land and J.C. Penney will show up to redeem the world, he will put us all to be burned in hell. That's what they believe.
Well,
because we never accepted him and we won't accept him. So why they want to help us to take over Israel, to win against the Arabs, make sure the Jews go? Why they pay all these organizations that sponsor Aliyah? A lot of the people who made Aliyah, it's Christian money. All the airfare, it's all come from them. There's some Reform rabbis who have connection with them. They get hundreds of millions of dollars donation from them.
Oh, wow.
Rabbis from Manhattan, from Texas. Why they are so generous? Why are they donating money to Israel? What do they care about Israel? The answer is because they believe the Messiah would come. They just have the wrong identity of the Messiah. That's it. They believe that it's actually JC. They never watch my debate with a Christian professor. They would watch it quickly. They would dump all the Christian symbols, you know where, because it would be so obvious that it's all fake.
Oh. But then, I mean, damn. The religion he calls all fake is the one that sponsors them the hardest. Ain't that crazy? Oh, no, we got more from my guy. More. Just to, drill the point in.
I always wonder how dumb this goyim sometimes can be. Like they say, you killed our God. That means he wasn't a God. How can you kill a God? Normal. How stupid you could be. You killed our God. Who was your God? JC. If he was God, we could kill him. I always wonder how dumb this.
Yeah. So, and I always do say, people say, oh, Muslims are our worst enemy. Oh my God. I'm like, bro, at least they believe Jesus is coming back like you guys. These guys completely insult his name, and y'all on their side, you give billions to them, but then you want to demify Muslims. How do y'all look right now? I just want to know. I just want to know how y'all get past that. Like, what mental gymnastics you got to do in your head to make that sound, I don't know, make it make sense, okay? What type of mental gymnastics do you do in your head to make it make sense? I want to know.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life.
And that 6 billion includes Christians like you.
Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand, so many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many, 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that, according to the Torah, do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews, even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
So when they said if you're a non-believer, when they tell you that about Muslims, projection. That sounds like some crazy projection. Oh, they'll kill you if you're a non-Muslim. I mean, bro, according to the Torah, you're supposed to die because you're a Christian. I mean, okay. Kind of sounds like there's some similarities there, but it's kind of crazy how Israel and the Jews will demify Muslims. But I mean, come on now. At least the Muslims respect Jesus. At least the Muslims respect the Mother Mary, but do they? Let's see.
So why today Jews go to places that
Christians make churches, because the idol worshipping of the Christians is not as bad as the idol worshippings of Nepal or India and other places, because they still believe in our God, but they believe in somebody else. It's called shituf, cooperation. When a Jew comes and reads in a book of God that Christians and Muslims admit that is the book of God, there's no debate about it. Everyone agrees, the three main religions. The point that I'm making here is, when we read in the Torah that Christians also read in their churches and Muslims also read in their schools.
Any good Christian, before Jesus showed up, who was right?
I mean, this is a belief that the Muslims and the Jews share, that there's only God and there's no Jesus Christ. He was a Messiah. Now, the Muslims actually believe he was a Messiah. He was a prophet. The Jews, they believe he was a scoundrel and he deserves to be burning in hell. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy how you guys are against the guys who actually accept his word, against the guys who, completely reject his word and hope that he's burning in hell. How do you rectify this?
Were the Jews right, or was the rest of the world right? They will tell you, Christians say, of course the Jews were right. They were God's chosen people. Up until the point they killed Jesus, they were God's people. They were correct. Christians and Muslims agree the foundations of Judaism are true. Christians and Muslims agree God revealed himself at Mount Sinai. But came along Jesus, he was the Messiah. He was God himself.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the last clip. Oh, no, it's not. One more for you. Just one more, guys. Bear with me.
It's not dreams of all kinds of Mechalelei Shabbat that had a dream, all of us. Revelation. We saw what happened with the revelation of Maria. 2,000 years of suffering came to the world. Christian Inquisition, Spain, Portugal, Holocaust, pogroms, from a dream of a prostitute who cheated on her husband. That's it.
Damn.
From that, 2 billion people today follow this idol.
A dream of a prostitute who cheated on her husband. And that's what he thinks of the Mother Mary. And I mean, here's the thing, guys. I'm not, like I said, bro, not all Jewish people low-key, real with you, takes that belief on like he does, but it is the foundation of their teachings. Like, they don't believe in Jesus Christ. Not all Jews believe that Jesus Christ was just this scoundrel, but you kind of take the same position as the Muslims. Like, bro, he's not this scoundrel, but he's not the son of God. Now, Christians over here be like, no, he is the son of God. He is the way through God. He is the word, and, of course, and all that good stuff. So there's the gripe right there. There's the main gripe. And I always do say, if you want to sit there and bash Islam all day, which I wouldn't suggest you do, then, I hope you sit there and do the same thing to Judaism. If not, you're scared. And I'm gonna be real with you, you lack testicle fortitude. Because if you're going to call out one, please call out the other. I'm just saying, if you're going to call out one, call out the other. If you're going to call out the pedophilic actions in the Quran, or you better call that out in the Talmud. Be fair. But let's get back to it.
More is his nature. It's one of these belly creatures, sliver on. The question is, how many more weeks and years do we have to keep pretending like Ben Shapiro is relevant?
Crying.
It's an open-ended question. Of course, what followed Ben Shapiro on stage is somebody who Charlie Kirk loved very much and who he fought for to the very end against the...
And shout out my man Chad for sending a laughing disco, and JB2 for sending 100 joules. Appreciate the support, guys.
Jewish donors who were pressuring him, some of them because Ben Shapiro insisted that they do. Take a listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say when he hit the stage.
The prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole Red Guard Cultural Revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point, I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster. And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
True.
That is Charlie Kirk's true legacy, and that is Charlie Kirk's true friend, just as I was and am and will continue to fight and ask questions about who killed Charlie Kirk. And to people that are at home.
Yeah, not show for Israel no matter what. Like, all right, I'm having too much fun.
I implore you to wake
I'm
up
having too much fun.
to these people who believe that they are contract lords. I challenge Black Americans to wake up to your true history, because your quarrel is not with white men, okay? Wake up to who publishes these books and keeps us warring with one another. Christians versus Christians, right? Christians versus Muslims. Wake up and learn the true history of slavery, because that wasn't exactly a white men sport, okay? Jewish people were the ones that were trading us. Jewish people were in control of the slave trade. They've buried a lot of it, but it's there and you can find it. I think all of us need to wake up to this, because it's making me absolutely sick that he is so bold that he dare sit near Charlie Kirk's chair, that he dare grace that stage when Charlie Kirk knew exactly what Ben Shapiro was and will always be. So again, on your belly, Ben Shapiro. We'll be back after a brief break. All right, you guys, when they double down on abortion, you know that we have to double down on supporting life. Through our partnership with Preborn, we can help save babies and support mothers that are in need. Every day, Preborn's clinics rescue hundreds of babies because when a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears...
Well, that was quite the grilling of Ben Shapiro right there. But all right, we're just going to go ahead and close it down on that end right there and leave out to this. I mean, you got to admit, it's low-key a catchy song. I mean, let's be real. It's a catchy song. But all right, though, yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave out to that right there. You know what? Why not? Why not? Let's have some fun. All right, guys, this is Set with Set Media, and I'm going to go ahead and leave out on this. I'll see you guys around 9. Peace.